Hours left in, well, it's turning into a bit of an exciting afternoon here. Yeah, Apple leading the market back to the downside, unfortunately, following this headline out an hour or so or go, talking about a slowdown in hiring and a slowdown in spending. This all came from a Bloomberg tweet, in fact. Initially, a lot of other outlets now picking up on it. The key to this was they were talking about individual teams, certain individual teams and individual areas of the company. So not necessarily company-wide, but more specific in spending slowdown and hiring slowdown for the remainder of the year. But regardless, what a move to the downside here for Apple, 1.6 right now. Just went through 148 like it wasn't even there. I mean, we were talking this morning, Sean mentioned the strength that this has had on a daily chart over the past few days, back to the upside, 130 right to 150, but coming off in a hurry here. Back through 148, maybe an excuse anyways, to take some profit for a lot of people in Apple shares. It's been a relatively positive session overall otherwise. Here's a look at where we're at right now. The S&P down 0.2. The Dow about 1.5, back in the red as well, with Apple dragging the entire thing back to the southbound side. The Russell, it's worth mentioning, the 2000 holding up quite well. AMC still having a great day. We'll have a look at AMC coming up here in a minute. But yeah, the NASDAQ went red first. Continues to lead to the downside back through negative territory. Still a nice afternoon there for the TSX here in Toronto. Hope your afternoon's going well. If you caught that move back to the downside for Apple, it's going very well. Google with a little follow through there. We'll talk about Google, obviously, coming off the split. Day number 1, 20 for 1 for Google. Yeah, ends up getting faded pretty early and often as well. Let's get into what else was moving around this morning. So many opportunities heading into a key week for earnings. Sean is here. He's going to lead the way with a look at one of his trades.
Oh, yo, what's up? Yeah, hey, what's going on, guys? Yeah, today's day trade brought to you by Day Trade the World, the world's leading day trade company. Get involved now. Go to that website, scan that QR code, daytradetheworld.com. But look, I mean, today, wow, I have Google on board right now. I think it's close to $2 in the money, and that reversed on this play as well. But we'll play Apple because it's the news, right? We started the day today with Apple longs. Like, we really wanted that. Brendan hit the nail on the head. Apple was one of my top stocks as we take the trade early in the pre-market here at that 150 mark. It was actually 150.60. Started to get some at 151.20, so on and so forth, letting this trade work out, right? Then all of a sudden, the market starts to get a little bit heavy. I don't know if someone anticipated this move to the downside, but there we are at 12,000 right now. And I'll talk about why that's key, where I'm out here on Apple. But, you know, the market was starting to get a little top heavy here around noon, 11 o'clock. Then all of a sudden, the Apple news comes out, like we talked about, some layoffs and so on and so forth, pause on hiring. We'll get all that to you as the show goes on. But as soon as that happened, look, we tried one more time here to take the bid of Apple in front of that 150. So we go long 150.50, then again 150.10 or so. When it breaks back down, we wind up getting out, right? Then we're like, oh my God, what is going on here? Apple just shouldn't have made this move. It was cruising all day. Then all of a sudden, a few nice candles to the downside. We figure out the story. I just look it up, what's going on with Apple, boom. Brendan brings it to us. And then I just go short. Basically, price, no discrimination. As soon as I heard that news, I was like, Apple's been rocking the last little while. Where's my 20-minute chart on Apple? It's down here. You could see this one right here, the 20-minute. Look how strong Apple's been all the way to the 150. Then today we open up above 150. So Apple's had a monster move to the upside. We like the long, but at the same token, we know there's a lot of downside movements here. Even into this 144 could be a level of concern, right? So that's all. Nothing. We just hit the short. Then it starts to fall. We're like, okay, let's get some out here in the 30s. Boom, it's right there. That's 20, 30 cents. Then we take a piece out at 149. We're like, are you kidding me? This is now 70 cents in the money. Pulling back in. We take something out at 148.80. I don't know. Started to go back up. Maybe that's a stop. No, 148. Why did we take 148 again? Oh, I put lines on here, but they disappeared. That's okay. Here's 148 right into here. So we had some tops there, tops right into here about that 148. Unfortunately, I did draw lines that are gone, but that 148 I thought could be support. So there's the out right there at 140.18. Then all of a sudden, it's like, see ya, to the north side, down to 147.20. So then you get into this area right down here, between 146 and 147. But that's not really the reason why we got out, right? So as Apple's coming back down, we take that out. So we basically have the top of that move, sort of. I think you could have got short 150, but I don't know if the news was out then. And then we take that very bottom, right? We see there's a wick down there, so I sort of thought, maybe we're wick the bottom there at 147, and let's just get out and move on off the Apple trade. But the reason why, I said we go over this a little bit more. See the NASDAQ? That's 12,000 right there. So as we bounce around that 12K, there's going to be no bigger market mover than Apple, right? We know what kind of percentage is 10% plus on the NASDAQ, 4+% on the S&P. So if we're going to come up to some sort of resistance, let's just get out of Apple. We closed it for a $2.30 winner right there. So it's a monster trade. We still have short Google as well. So we'll hold on to that. But again, on specific news, like whenever I see that about Apple and it just tanks like this, like down 2 or 3%, because remember, we were up that much. I feel like layoffs and things like that and hiring freezes and whatnot, I don't know. I think that's kind of par for the course for a lot of companies right now. So I feel like this was a little bit overdone. Now, is it foreshadowing possibly earnings and what's going to come from tech companies? Maybe. And I think that's why we see this move down. I'm looking to see what does happen here at 12,000. We have oil up as well, up 4% today. But it's Apple, man. We break that 150. We got jiggy with it early, man. We took the nice bid in. So that's 20, 40, 60, 80%. And then we do lose on our last 20% as we average in, put on a position here, dump it back down. Apple goes to the downside. Trade of the day brought to you by Day Trade the World, and it's Apple.
Might not be done yet either. Still in the process of trying to find a bottom here. We're stalling at around 147.50. But I mean, we talked about a lot of things. Apple, one of them in the pre-market. Make sure you join the watch list. Grab it for free every single day, guys. Before we come on at 8:30, use that link. I guess they're talking about it on CNBC right now. It might be the reason for another leg to the downside here. But I mean, guys, we've discussed, or we looked at it this morning, the strength on the daily time frame for Apple. Here are the two headlines that we need to be aware of here this afternoon. Again, this all coming from Bloomberg up here. CNBC then quickly picked up on it. So I mean, they're slowing spending and hiring for some teams in 2023. And then this one, the spending and company slowdown is not company-wide, or the spending cut is not company-wide. So a couple of key notes there for this headline in Apple. But wow, what a move.
What an unbelievable move. I'm not going to lie. I was sitting in the little boys' room and came back and was like, what in the actual heck happened to the market? Well, I knew because people were already talking about it on the floor. So the first thing I looked at was, okay, well, Apple's already gone. What's Qualcomm doing? And I mean, blind luck, Qualcomm was sitting right on top of Friday's support level at 142 essentially. And I was able to sit down just in time for it to break that level. I grabbed a short there. You just got to find somewhere to express the move. I was sitting in a Baba short, so I mean, thank you, Apple, because realistically, that's the only short I liked this morning was Alibaba, and it just so happened to get helped by that market pullback. But that's part of the game. I mean, you're going to get lucky sometimes. You're going to be sitting in something when a market event happens. Now, I do like the momentum to the downside for a couple of reasons here. One, 12,000 broke. But the second part of this is, we get a significant level. Qualcomm was so strong late last week, maybe not Friday, but Thursday was just unbelievable from that 135 into 142. So when you have that breakdown, there's a huge gap to be filled. If we trend down this afternoon, then something which just broke a shelf, obviously it's a pretty solid sympathy play to the downside from Apple. So it works in a lot of ways here. That's why I jumped over to it. Apple's a granddaddy, but if you do miss that initial trade, don't panic. Look for either an entry point in Apple if you can find one, find something that might roll over, find something that was previously strong that might be affected by it. Some of the chip names fell on this. In addition to Qualcomm, I saw Micron made some fresh lows as well. So there's a lot to look at when you get a piece of news like this. Now, it's going to feel difficult for me to like a lot of longs the way we reverse. We were in an inside day today where the market wasn't really breaking out of the range. And the good news was you had plenty of individually strong names. Now, suddenly, you do have a direction for the market today. And the momentum is clearly to the downside, thanks to Apple.
Yeah. Yo, what's up? I mean, I'm going to be here trading for you, and Apple was a trade. And we talked about that. Good look on Qualcomm. But obviously, we're taking multiple dollars here on Apple, but we are ended the trade now. So we took it out at 147.20, the bottom of the day. You could look to see if a 147 can come through. But yeah, I just justified the spot there for you on the trade of the day. I hope it makes sense. I mean, we may not break above that 12,000 again. This is not great news here for Apple. So as the market turns, as the world turns, so does Apple. So now it's coming back into the downside. I mean, it's only down 1.87%. I don't want everybody to be jumping off bridges or anything here. I think that they're slowing hiring. Let's wait. I thought it was the 24th maybe or the 28th for earnings. So, I mean, I'm not, I'm not super interested in too many more shorts. Apple's been a nice little move to the upside right here. I'm going to sort of let it just trade out. The position that I'm more interested in, and we'll talk about it when it comes back, Brendan, is this Google short that I have on, which is really, really printing. Google, the number one name for me today, easily is going to be Google.
28th, in fact, Sean, for Apple on the earnings front. Let's talk about it. Google, that is, obviously not benefiting from this move down in Apple, but ended up being a fade. I mean, it gave you that great bounce initially this morning after the flush, but ends up being a fade until we get into what's happening right now, all the way to 109 now.
Like, one thing about Google this morning, if we're honest about it, there were some good long opportunities, but quite frankly, it wasn't really much of a long. It gave you several shots at it, to be sure, but if you look at it at the open, it went straight down $2.50. It then tried to break out the high. It then retested the low, then broke the low, and now you're seeing it break down. So, obviously you can make money going long because there were some bounce chances. 112 held, then 111 held. On the way back in, 111 held a second time, and then we eventually broke that price. So, ultimately, it's disappointing. But it's not terribly dissimilar from what happened with Amazon. Amazon was stronger at the AM, but also reversed after that good, strong debut. It's just it lasted a heck of a lot longer than Google did here today. So that shelf break, I mean, you can go to the higher time frame and sort of do the math yourself. Our charts aren't going to be split adjusted. Certainly, you can look at this. You're going to look at that at like 105 and say if it ever gets there, fine. But 110, I'm now looking 110 for any potential fade. There was a good consolidation there. I didn't reverse on this. When the news came through, I was kind of looking at that Qualcomm. But I'll tell you, Google, pretty disappointing day if you're a shareholder. That said, we kind of saw a little bit of this happen with Amazon. Thankfully, it was a successful trade, but I think it's turning into a bit of a fade. Unless we can reclaim and hold that 12,000, that's the kind of market momentum we're going to need to see in the market to try and drag this up, because there's been lots of profit taking and selling in Google today.
So yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I actually made more money long, but it's funny because right now I'm sitting in this banger of a short. The longs were cash today, man. I mean, down to 111, back up to 113. Like, come on. I mean, the amount of money there, like that's 111.50, out 113.50. That's $2 straight fire, back to back to back jacks. And then look at this one, long again at 111, out at 112.20. So tons of money made on the long side of things, right? And then again, we wouldn't be able to do this if we weren't, like we said, looking at key levels, man. And that 111, this is it. I mean, look at this right here. Google 111, right? We have that support there. As soon as that was broken, man, then bang it to the downside. So we talked about Google 111. It's written right there on the sticky note. And look what happens, man. There's the 111 break. And the funny thing is, this happened like way before the Apple news. So it's like this was breaking down early. So what helped the NASDAQ also to the downside, obviously, is Google, because that broke at 120, man. So that broke like well before Apple, boomed it to the downside. Unfortunately, like, this is what I mean. We're taking a lot of shares. Like, we're trying to make that money. So here it is. Bang, 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 all the way down. My best out, though, 109.60. As I was doing the trade of the day, this did go down to 108.80. So, yeah, it is a little bit of an excuse there because I would have liked to take 109 on the break back up. So I feel like right now we'll sit at 109, see if we're lucky enough to get that, but we're in the money now, another $1.38. Google, the number one stock today on the show, profit-wise. So let's see if it can continue its march to the downside. We have a couple more bullets to fire off, but I do want to go bid here at 109 low. We missed that. I mean, I wish I was sitting here. That rejection to it's the same thing with Apple, right? It's like how we got out of our Apple at that bottom. you see the rejection and then you just get out. So right there on Google, rejected. I mean, it didn't reject, but you have a couple wicks down there at 108.80, 109. We should have had an out right there at about 109. But today, Google, man, yeah, we're definitely ringing some registers on this play. I would have loved for this to have been the trade of the day, but hey, Apple's trending more, Brendan.
Yeah, and so much so tradable, I guess is the best way to put it, was Google this morning. We were mentioning a little bit with midday guys, Amazon split ended up being about 100 million or so traded on the first day. Doubt Google's going to get there, but still a ton of volume to contend with for Google. We were talking in the pre-market about Chinese names on this note this morning. There was a bunch of them higher as the government came out again speaking all the right language and talking about all the right efforts going forward in supporting tech companies, supporting growth in the country, and also working with foreign governments on regulatory issues. NIO still 2.3% here to the upside today, whereas the market's bouncing around basically flat on the session, but some of the e-commerce names as well with pretty big days for the China ADRs.
Yeah, look, NIO was a monster, definitely a good move. I just happen to like Billy. That was the one I looked at this morning and said if there's a setup there, and again, you can like a bias for an entire sector, but you want to pick out an individual name at one point. And Billy was just sitting, right here at the 50-period moving average at $24, right at the open. It was sort of one of these situations where I looked at 4 or 5 different Chinese listed or US listed Chinese names and then came across this. It had broken 24 support last week, made a hard bottom, and then you were consolidating right at previous support. You had the obvious room right in the same channel it made last week, 24 into 25.50. It was just a 24 break long into 25.50. I tried to reload in the afternoon there at 25 as the market slipped in there, and that was a tight stop. But you got to pick something to trade. In this case, it was just a matter of finding one that had the best setup with, I think, the best risk to reward, giving you, essentially that, that nice quick $1.50 move. And it worked out pretty well. And the other end of that coin was this morning, simply recognizing that last week, Alibaba had a negative catalyst. Obviously there was that data breach and all those concerns, and you had 2 huge flushes in Alibaba back-to-back days. One off the 107 level, and then back off of this 103 level, which we'll get to probably in a quick second here. So it went to 107. The market was very strong, and I got away from the read I had on Alibaba, which is to short the 107. At the time, the market was making a fresh high, so I took the trade out thinking, hey, this is just going to start pulling back and trending like everything else. No, it decided to remain weak. And then in the afternoon, we said, hey, we probably like this 105, this same lower high that came in on Thursday. So that's what we're short off right now. The only thing left standing is this 103 level where we fell from on Friday. This is still support on BABA. Can the market make another leg to the downside to break it? That's what we're going to have to see. But this is the name I'm playing for relative weakness. When the market was so strong this morning, there weren't a lot of shorts to be had, but BABA certainly gave you that opportunity.
We had NEO written down at $20 on the watch list. I mean, on the sticky note. That never came through. But Meta here, not a Chinese strength name, but we did buy Meta. We're still in this name. We're still $2-3 in the money on Meta here. Unfortunately, we weren't sitting here during lunchtime. We were doing some meetings, which we are, looking for a few more people. We've talked about that. 170, 150 there could be the high there for Meta. We did take it. Normally on a 50-period break, I told you, we talked about this again on the midday show, where I'm trying to get better and believe in the trades and hold on to them. We did exactly that, and that requires you getting out once something breaks back down to the downside. So that would have been 171. Let's see if we can get it back to 170 here as Meta still trying to get going, despite that market dump, which now the market is back to green. So there you go on that one, Prad. Put your little shirt back on there and hide that red. But now it's a move back up to the upside. But rate now for Meta is coming into some levels here for a little bit of support or resistance, 169.40 or so. So yeah, we're still $2 in the money. We'll try to hold on to Meta a little bit, see if we can get that to work out for us. But nice little move back up to the upside. We missed NIO. I mean, NIO is a cash position there at $20. We'll see if we can get that again at some point. But here's why I want to wait for it. Alibaba's been good to me as well, but here's this 20 on NEO. I really feel like one morning or one day we're going to come in and it's going to be well below here, and then there's nothing we could do about it, in which case I'll use that as resistance rather than support. But for right now, I want to be buying close to 20 bucks. So if the market does turn red, and like seriously red, and NEO does come back in, this is going to be one of the names that I pick up on any weakness. I like this. I like it better than XPeng and Li Auto, just because they have this level. It's not a comment on the company by any stretch of the imagination. It's just, I like this. Let's see if this is going to make a little bit of sense for us here. But right now, NEO down to 20 bucks. If we can get that, I like it. And then Google, again, just our charts aren't going to be great on that. Let me just zoom in a little bit more. If we take down this 110, we'll get out and we'll get out of a piece, and we'll give up that dollar that we should have had down there. But right now, Google pretty strong as the market's coming back. Just check back in on our Apple. That's a good out down there, 147.20, the bottom of the day. Now look, 1, 2. Remember I ended the discussion there where it's like, you know, I don't think this is that major for Apple. Is it? We'll see. But I mean, it's a nice little move to the downside. But there it is. After people analyze it and figure out what the hell are we doing selling Apple, I feel like people will come in and buy this name up again. So let's watch for this, man. We're not going to be short Apple anymore today unless we do take down that very bottom. So for me, Apple's a good trade here. Watch it. It might be a good long, but I'm not going short again until 147.20 breaks.
All right, just reading through another headline that just came across there about Apple Pay. Going to dig into that a little bit, but no reaction from the overall market. Let's talk about some of the chip makers back on watch this morning as well. As we sat down in the pre-market here, the Democrats in Washington saying as soon as tomorrow we could get a vote in Washington on this chips bill. So all of these showing a lot of strength here in the pre-market. Nvidia is still holding up the best here. 3.5% still, even with this move down for Nvidia.
I was half wrong about something. I said the downside risk in this bill is mostly to Intel and Micron, but it's more right now it's more Micron that's feeling the pain than Intel. So if you're filing away relative strength and weakness, I mean, certainly there's nothing I see. I mean, Qualcomm had a big move to the downside, but Micron was already looking pretty weak off of the open, and you're failing that 61 level, which was a previous breakout. This is one that I feel pretty comfortable saying, you know, that break that was trying to happen here at 61, it looks like that's pretty much come and gone. You're headed right back below it. You can then throw that back into resistance for Micron. And on pops, this is when I'd want to short. I just got some more shares of Qualcomm. That's maybe a little bit more related to the Apple news. But you know, if we get any kind of a move back into that 61, 61.30 off of those Friday highs, that's going to make sense to me for a bit of a fade trade here. You know, AMD and Nvidia, again, less affected or less, they have less to gain from the bill in its current form because they let other people make the chips. They just design the chips. So you know, ultimately, that's going to mean there's more at stake here for the Intels and the Microns of this world. And maybe you're seeing that be priced in with the risk. If it gets voted down, then I think you're going to want to look for some shorts over in Intel and Micron to be sure. This afternoon, I'll look for shorting Micron on some pops. That'll be the next trade. If it pops, I should say.
Yeah, we've, another positive name on our board here today is going to be, of course, Nvidia there because that's Netflix. Sorry, someone was asking on the chat about Netflix, so I wanted to get over to that and then realized that we're doing chips right now. So there it is right there. All right, so we went long early. We waited for a dip back in, and we got that dip exactly where we wanted it. 164 out, 165.50, 165.50 again. And then it goes all the way to the high of the day. And again, this all happens at noon. And, part of doing this is not sitting here, unfortunately, all the time. But that would have been a good out. But that's fine. And then we tried it again there at 164 with no love. So here's a long here. Took a little bit of profit and then dumped it down. So, not much happening for me on Nvidia. There's the out. It went long 163, out again right there. I'm debating this 161 long, but I don't really care. This chip build to me is nothing. It's going to be something, but I'm not really looking at those levels right now. We'll do that once the vote happens and once we see what's going on. But Nvidia, nice 3% move to the upside, so we like that trade. I think we've made that pretty clear. I like AMD near that 80 mark. Other than that, man, I think we just kind of chill out. I mean, what is AMD at? 82? Yeah, I was going to say 83.50. The high of the day was actually 84.50. Like, look what happens when this name gets going. Very, very good when there's positive news, and then when the market sinks, it can give absolutely everything back and be basically a day ruiner right there. So watch out there with AMD as we go, but it should be a good one today, guys. Big movements happening and a lot of money to be made in these chip names. Let's just continue to trade them all week. We're not going anywhere.
Netflix here, guys, because there was an interesting note that came out from a site called SimilarWeb. And I'll show you the headline here, suggesting that Netflix lost 25% of its traffic to competition in the last 3 years. Remember, earnings coming tomorrow. However, still pretty good day here, trying to test the top end of this range over here for Netflix.
Yeah, so Netflix, I mean, another big one for me today again, man, off that bottom. They're 193. Our best out, again, we only got out at 2/3 of this trade. Our best out is 196 for $3. So those were great ideas. We talked about it earlier. It's one of the #1 names here on the sticky note today. So we really like these levels of 193 and 190. Looks like the latter might come into play at some point today, 190, as the market continues to make a move downside. So we'll see here, 193. If this breaks, someone said, what's my plan of action? Look, I'm going to take out $1 the last bit here. If it continues to break down, we have that bottom right here, 193.85. It's pretty clear for me. So if it breaks back down below that, with this market changing, we're already well in the money on Google. Our Meta, nah, I'm $3 in the money on that one. But Netflix, yeah, definitely need to take it out here. We were waiting, and greed sometimes is good, and sometimes it bites you a little bit. We could have taken it out here at 200. We talked about that as we were trading this today. So definitely a missed opportunity there. But, oh, man, again, to have been here at noon would have been a little bit of a different story. It doesn't matter. You can see this high of 198.50. It's now dropping back down, so I am going to unfortunately have to give up about $5 here, man. Like, yeah, what is this? I mean, this market is, yeah, it's well below 12,000 going lower. So I'm gonna have to get out of this Netflix like right now as it just continues to get worse and worse and worse. But, you know, we've made a lot of money today on these shorts and on the longs. So let's just stick with our plan, get out when certain levels are breached, and this one's breaching for Netflix. We'll get back long if the market changes up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to the long side, actually, and I just got out of one of them. AMC just stopped me out. I'll show you here on the chart. We did get stopped out when AMC broke VWAP. The bigger story, you just mentioned the market rolling over again. 12,000. This is your 12,000 on my 15-minute, and you can see, like, we initially tried to bounce back through that support, and then rejected it. Wick top, and now you're flushing back below. So that's a lot of times that's going to start running some stops here. And I wasn't involved in AMC until pretty late anyway. So, you know, I'm not going to sit there and like dig into it and give it too much room. I wanted to play the consolidation off VWAP. And then once it couldn't hold that morning support, I'm going to be out of it. I did get a reload on Qualcomm. That level on the 15-minute, I'll go back to that level on the 15 to show you. Essentially, it just rebounded right back to Friday's support level on the bounce. So we'll rinse and repeat. We get some more shares back in front of that 142 and then see if it can't flush back in. If we make fresh lows, you know, this is a name that has room to go to the downside. There was no such pop to fade in Alibaba, unfortunately, just there. So I was not able to get into that. I know we talked about some big tech. I'll come to one small cap that, well, I guess this is more in line with some of the Chinese names that were going was Qdian this morning. And it had a decent trade off of $2. I mean, I thought there'd be some resistance at 220. I didn't think the move would stall out completely at that price. That's what ended up happening. I ended up holding on to some, getting back out with a 195 stop. So held on to 20% instead of getting it all out in front of 220. I'm back into the long, and this might be a little bit easier to see if I pop the 3-minute over here. Anytime we have a gap up, and then we hold the morning range throughout the day, and there was a wick bottom at about 11 o'clock, but then it's held that morning range at 170. I like to sit in the long off of that level and look for a VWAP pop, if not like a late day push, but that's a pretty strict out if we do take out that low. So I am back into Qdian. I would say it's a bit of a disappointment today. If I use the first level of resistance as an area to go short, it'd be a much different day on this stock, but I was looking at that breakout at 2 and thinking it had a second leg in it. Unfortunately, it just wasn't to be had, but hold on to your shorts. Here comes the low of the day again. Back in money about $1 on Alibaba, Qualcomm, rolling back into those lows of the day. And just because we haven't mentioned you, Tesla, getting awfully close to hitting its low of the day. I still like that 720 level. It's definitely a different circumstance in catching that bid at 930 when I would have liked it. Now we'd have to be catching a falling sword if it comes in, but you know, 720 where we closed for Tesla looked like it was going to be pretty decent support. Maybe that comes into play if this market continues to fall.
A little bit of separation here. Apple nowhere near day lows. The market, however, testing day lows. Meanwhile, this just happened. Crude oil just closed basically pegged. Day highs, 5.1% on a huge volume spike there right at the pit session close. Let's talk about Lockheed Martin. LMT, big spike there mid-afternoon up to 397. It's come all the way back. 2-day lows as well. Pentagon reports Pentagon's nearing a deal that could be worth up to $30 billion on some F-35s for LMT.
All right, we're getting really, really lucky here to get this Google bid. We're at 109.20 right now to ring the register. We said that we had missed this opportunity before, bless you, when it went down to 109, and we should have got out on the way back upside, but now we have that opportunity again. Maybe we are just waiting, like, what do I really care about 10 cents right now on this name? Let's just put a bid out and get filled if we can. Oh, now we're not going to. You watch it run away from this 130 probably. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we can get this one and then we don't have to worry about it. Someone just stepped up with Arca there. I'm on another exchange at that. Oh man, come on. Don't tell me this is what's going to happen. I hope not. But we'll see if it wants to get back to the upside here. Hopefully it does. Not worry about that. And get a lot of credit for that tape reading thing that we had on Amazon. So thanks for that. That was really fun there. The other day was Thursday or Friday. And then remember, honestly, give me that 34, baby. Remember that on the, there it is. That's good. So we're now out at 34. So we'll go Mamma Mia on another banger there, $1.70 for you guys back and forth one more time. And again, not about scalping, man. We're trying to make that money one more time. So there it is. But what I was getting at there was you got to be patient a little bit with these markets as they come in now. You know, make sure that you have the right levels, make sure that you see the right things, and then just trade aggressively off that, because this is a great time to trade right now. I mean, I'm going to be on, this is going to be a 5-day win streak. Oh, remember, I said last week, and I said what's going to be the stock that I'm really looking forward to trading was going to be Google. And I said this on Friday that it's probably going to be my #1 stock on Monday. Well, guess what? No crystal ball, but that was a good idea. The minute that this stock came back down, I haven't traded Google one time on this show. I talk about buying it for my portfolio, investments, so on and so forth. So it is my #1 holding there. But look what happens, man. This is what I mean. It doesn't, for me, it doesn't really matter the company or what it's doing. It's just about the levels coming through, reading the tape, you know, having conviction in what you're trading. And there it is, man. Like, we wanted to go long Google, so we did. We destroyed it to the long side. And I'm still made more money long than I have short. But look at this. Here comes a big move, because I only have this one time, right? So we had the long numerous times. So a lot of reloads there. But it's getting close now because this is a pretty drastic move. But even though I'm in the money $1.60 right now on Google, like right here, this is 111.50. That's 113.50. So we've already taken $2 on the long side on this name, and including same thing here, 111.20 out 112.20. So that's $1. So it's nice to have all these wins. It's great, but it's not falling that much. It did break that 111 shelf that we were talking about, so that's why we went short. And now we're just gonna have to watch Google trade. And you know, I've left Amazon alone today, but Google definitely on the radar there. This might turn out to be a good out. And by the way, Brendan, remember when you mentioned about Apple? And I was like, yeah, I feel like Apple has a chance to bounce. But then we got that Apple Pay news, and I don't know, it's all coming out here against Apple. But to me, you know, probably tomorrow you'll see some downgrades and everything, and allow, you know, some offices or some hedge funds or whoever, investment banks, to get longer on Apple. But we'll wait to see. Right now, Apple's struggling at 147.70. Meta's holding up. We got two $2 winners on right now. Meta long, Google short.
Yeah, when you have antitrust issues, a lot of times, it's good that you're strong enough to have that be a concern. But I feel like that Afterpay, like they keep coming after them, whether regulators all over the world, for antitrust issues and competitive practices. So I kind of feel like you're piling on, but that shouldn't be that big of a negative piece of news. And maybe if it was on its own, it wouldn't do anything to Apple. It might just be because we got that first note. I want to just quickly come to this EVTL. This was, I think, last week. I mean, I don't think last week. It was on Friday when the stock had a huge run, and then today it gaps up before fading, you know, at the open. Look, they had a minor UK government deal, but the bigger story for a stock like this is always going to be, like, when you look at the flow and when you look at the pure momentum. Like, this is it's about a $50 million float stock. So when it gets going, you can see some follow through. But this is a real double top, shy of $6 here. These wicks at 587 are absolutely legit. So you do have a chance for a breakout through $6 today, because you'll have maybe a triple. If you test this again, you'll have and a quadruple top, really, when it comes to this $6. Just remember, this came from $3. There will be profit takers at that 6 level. I just went ahead and paid for shorts because I want the opportunity to fade this if we can on any kind of a failed break. But this EVTL looks pretty good bouncing off VWAP for some longs with a 520 stop. And then watch out for a 6 break that we can get this afternoon.
All right, you might have just heard the alarm there because Apple back into the long here for Apple. We're 20 cents in the money, so the beat goes on here one more time. So let's just see where we can go with Apple. We are now long Apple 147.70 off that little bottom there. We'll give it a little bit of room, man. I mean, we're long at 70. We're going to give it to 50. That's 23 cents. We're already 20 cents in the money. So a good trade here for Apple off that bottom. We're out of 30% already. Let's see if we can scalp it up to this 148 and change right there, where that 50 period is. But we are going to go long on Apple. And look, man, I feel no ways about getting out if this can go back up to the upside, because all we're there, we go another out right there. Because as we shoot, we score right now. And that's all that's been happening here for me. So let's just keep it going, man. And then some of you, what's up? Thank you for watching this afternoon show with us. Hit the like button, faux show. Some of you asking, did I tweet out? Yeah, here's me at T-ball with, you can see the girls in here. And here I am. Buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. I'm telling these guys, buy the dip. You got to buy the dip. But that was a really fun game there. Thanks for all the support there on Twitter as well. But yeah, really have a lot of fun, again, coaching and teaching, not just in the markets, but as you can see on the T-ball diamond as well. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy the show, enjoy what we're doing here on tradertv.live, because we're not going anywhere. And on that note, I mean, I'm definitely ain't going anywhere, because right now these pockets gets fatter and fatter as we stack it up right now. There's another one, man, another 30-cent win on this Apple long. So hey, look at this today. This is why we're doing a trade of the day, man. This is why we're the people's trader. Look at this move. Long, boom, short, fix it up, get out, go long again, right? So there it is, back and forth, a little bit of scalp action there, as now we only have 40% left of Apple, and it's just stacking up that cash. So let's go long on that. We're short on Apple. Of course, we're still long Meta, and the trade just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, I mean, unless we hold above 12,000, I'm still going to be favoring the shorts that we're sitting in and going to that. Well, there is one that I forgot about, and that was Li Auto this morning. We talked about the relative strength in some of these names, the Chinese names at least, but one of them had a huge sell candle right off the open, and then you had a big recovery. This is a good chance. If the market heads lower, let's watch out for 39.70 here. If this does flood, I'm not even thinking about 39 as the bottom. This stock was giving it up back to like 37.50 right at the open. It does have some levels that can come back into. And just quickly on EVTL, someone asked, when I was going over this, do I think it's breaking $6? I mean, look, I can't tell you. If I thought it was breaking $6 with 100% certainty, I would be long right now at 565 instead of waiting to buy in front of support. All I'm saying is you have upward momentum. You have it holding higher lows. I want to be involved to the long side off of VWAP. If it wants to put a 6 break in, that's a different story. That's like a breakout style trade. Like you take that trade as it breaks a level, give it a relatively tighter stop, and just look for it to make some fresh highs at that point. That's very different from trying to play the trend, which I'll be waiting for VWAP because that's where the support is. Yeah, you could go long here. You'd just be risking 50 cents instead of 20 or 30. I'd rather risk 20 or 30 if I'm going to be playing an EVTL. And just going back to one other U.S. listed Chinese name here, NIO, unlike Li Auto, actually holding near the bottom end of the range. So there's some relative weakness in NIO. The good thing it has going is the breakout price at 21 has held some support. I don't love the move here on NIO either. I would be fading this pop into. That's crazy wick there. That's not real. I'll be fading this back into VWAP as well. This one into about 21.40. I'd like that to short in NIO up into VWAP. And I'll take that one to the south side, and then just coming back over. You said you haven't looked at, well, I don't know if you said you hadn't looked at Amazon, Sean.
No, I had
or
not.
You've been ignoring it. For now, it's got a wick off bottom through the pre-market low. Sometimes these wick off bottoms can be chances for a bit of a bid. It's relatively weak. I'd give it a shot here if we're able to retake those highs, like not the highs, but that 12,000 level. Amazon will give you a decent enough risk to reward if it's just following the market here, as it is close enough to those lows to give you a bit of a shot. And that QD looks like it's going sideways and doing a heck of a lot of nothing. Tesla nowhere near my 720 level, so we're not going to get that one. Although the dark pool wicks at 720, those would be great fills if you could get them.
Like part of me was saying, like at that 745, that 750, I need to sell Tesla. I keep saying it every day, but then I can't do it. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Should probably sell Tesla, raise some capital, but I can't do it. All right, Apple, we're out of 80% of that one, so we smoking another one here, Fahad, because there it is, man. Me and Fahad go back and forth. He's like, damn, Daniel, those white vans. You heard of that one, Fahad? On that there, but he's always like, man, those trades. And I'm like, yeah, buddy. I don't want to act like it's easy to do because I need Fahad back over there on the ones and twos, but he's definitely learning and yeah, seeing some of these moves. So thanks, Fahad, for that one as well. Yeah, Apple, we're now out of 90. No, sorry, we have 80% left. So Apple right now still on that tip. Let's just see where it goes. Apple trying to bring it back into the downside one more time. So, you know, we're still in that 20%. We have our out at 147.50. Let's just respect that now. You know, we got some advice last week, like, hey, maybe like hold on to something a little bit longer and see if it can work out for you, because then you'll have the big move to the upside. So I am really glad that we were able to actually get rid of Apple on the downside. So that was good, but we'll hold it now a little bit. But look what just happened on the NASDAQ, man. The infamous hold at 12,000 right there. So it goes back up to 12. We tested it there again. We actually broke it, then came right back down, then tried again, and now came back in one more time. So it's going to look crazy if you look at like a daily or something for the NASDAQ, because we're just kind of bouncing. Like we do dip below that 12,000, then we come right back. So right now, let's just hold on to this Apple long hold. It's very dangerous. Definitely understand that, but we've been making good money on Apple today. So let's just try to stick with what we're doing, what we believe in. And for me, that's going to be this short here. This long on Apple against that bottom. So if it holds, great. If not, so what? We'll figure that out after. Google right now at $1.50 in the money. Again, my number one stock, and like I said, the number one stock on the show today is going to be Google. Out, and then boom, brought it back in right there and got a piece out at that 109.30 like we mentioned there. So I'm pretty happy holding all of these right now. The Apple long, the Google short, and then of course the Meta long, as we'll just wait. I don't mind getting into some chip stocks or if there's anything else moving. AMC we nailed this morning, but unfortunately we got out of it and we don't have this high move. We put on a big position there, for me anyways, breaking through that 16.15 level, and then we got the most of them out right here at 40, but then when it came back in, it broke 16 and we got out. So we don't have as much money on this name as unfortunately I would have liked, but that's okay. AMC, a nice little move to the upside. We were never going to take a 17 long or anything, but that would have been some good outs there. So we'll look at AMC again, especially if the volume comes back. Right now it's relatively light and you're just hovering around VWAP. So I'd like to see this back to 16 flat before we'll have a dance partner. So for right now, let's just calm down on AMC, see if it comes back in. We know the moves are going to be there. It's just be patient, because unless you're trading like 100 shares or something like that, you know, you're going to want to make sure that you are aggressively trading AMC, because when you have that move, like it can just blow up like it did here for me. It was just a matter of seconds before all of a sudden, whatever shares you had here were like 20 or 30 cents in the money, because as the volume goes and as traders get excited about an AMC, it'll just start to ramp up. So you definitely want to have a decent amount of shares on. So with that being said, I am not going to trade this thing in the middle. Let's wait for it to come back a little bit, or possibly short 17, but I'd much rather be long than short on AMC. And oh, you're in a name. I was going to say you're in a name that we haven't looked at.
Pinky the Finger just said, I'm shocked Neil isn't short a firm. I'm mildly shocked too. With the market pulling back like that, like you had to find something, and there was no setup for me on a firm today, and that's what it comes down to. Like, I get it. A lot of times it has great short setups. It's just I didn't see one today that I liked, so I'm not in it. But Uber, I do see something in Uber here. Now, Uber rejected the 50-period break today. Strong name, like a lot of other things. It's up that 5%, or at least it was up 5%. But you get that wick above the 50-period, now holding below $23. This is another one where if I see a rejection of a big major average like that, it's 22.90 actually where the 50-period is, and then you get the wick, I'm now thinking of that, which is now VWAP. That's my resistance level. It's VWAP. It's also recent resistance, just like 20 minutes ago. On top of that, it's your 50-period on the daily. So add Uber to the list of names on any kind of a pop. It wouldn't even take much here because it's only about 25 cents that I would shorten into 22.90. I'm just favoring them after that wick top at 1,200. We get back above 1,200, and I think the longs can be back on. But one of our favorite guests is ready with Brendan. Ooh, it's that time.
Yeah, always a great day when we get to have a chat with Frank Caberna, Director of Content, Product, and Creative over at the Small Exchange in Chicago. Good to see you, Frank. Brand new week and more big moves to discuss here. Let's jump right into things because a lot to get to. I want to start with the U.S. dollar. Big move back to the downside this morning. You've been kind of banging the drum on this over the past month or so. What was really the catalyst here? I mean, we were speaking about this on Friday a little bit and saying, you know, if we come in on Monday and get a big gap to the downside, or not a gap, but a big flush to the downside with the U.S. dollar, it might see a little bit of strength coming into stocks. I mean, everything was going to plan here, Frank, this afternoon, and then Apple had to bring the market down. But give me your thoughts here on USD.
Yeah, inflation, not a problem anymore, according to this U.S. dollar market. Of course, I'm joking. We talked last week about inflation making new highs since 1981, 40-year highs in this inflation metric that we look at, CPI. And this reading, you know what's funny? In retrospect, Brendan, this feels a lot like that FOMC day that we had back in June, where the fear in the market of interest rates ripping not only to 3.5% in the US, but beyond, really peaked on the day of that 75 basis point hike. Similar with inflation, the CPI reading last Wednesday, US dollars peak right around that number and have seen nothing but selling since then. You might be asking yourself and Frank here, what are you talking about, dude? Inflation higher and currency prices higher. Every textbook has taught me the opposite. Well, remember, we covered this last week that the nuanced situation that we're seeing currently is inflation and USD moving higher in lockstep. That's because US rates are the highest that they've been since 2007. And we're seeing as inflation moves higher, US rates moving higher. And since US rates are outpacing the other major economies, USD is going there as well. And I bring all this up because USD has been essentially a proxy for inflation fear. And with the market down considerably here today, but actually off of those lows, as you saw, euro and pound and the other major crosses against US dollar have come off their highs for the trading session. This is going to be the big mover here, and it's one that I'm definitely going to be watching, is this US dollar this week and on into the FOMC coming next week. But I know we have some other inflation numbers from Europe and Canada and some other places here in this week. And if you think that we're out of the woods in inflation, that reading last week in the CPI was the high, then you should see this US dollar slide further. If you think that we're not necessarily out of the woods, that maybe we bounce back and forth here, then maybe you're buying this dip in US dollar or selling this rally in euros. What are you thinking, Brennan?
Exactly the same. I want to get your thoughts here on this inversion, the yield curve inversion. I pulled up a chart here, real time, of the yield curve. Here's a 2-year right here for anyone who's wondering. This is a 10-year. So we're still inverted. We were speaking going back a week or so ago just about the length of time it's going to take to maybe, you know, figure this out. And we are seeing a little bit of a bounce here today, you know, in the 10-year back above, what is it right now? 2.97, essentially, as we head into the final hour of equity trading anyways. But give me your thoughts here on rates moving higher, obviously, as we've seen. You know, the market was higher, obviously, before this Apple move, but rates back to the upside ahead of some more, as you said, inflation data this week.
Yeah, and this has been the only thing that hasn't really released since those inflation numbers have come out, is that inversion in the yield curve. And it's a really interesting thing to see. Yeah, as you see rates moving higher, US dollar moving higher, but this doesn't do justice of that extreme that we're seeing in that inverted yield curve, something that we see very, very rarely and has not yet been undone. And this can go one of two ways, Brendan. At some point, that inverted yield curve is going to normalize. And so if you want a high probability shot, you should be out there selling short-term rates, buying medium or long-term rates. That reversion Now, that reversion might take a couple days, it might take a couple months, could take years potentially, but that's something that has always come back, is that yield curve inversion play. Now, in the short term, the trade in rates, Brendan, especially around some inflation numbers this week and an FOMC meeting next week, is we'll see probably an even greater inversion if inflation continues to escalate and the Fed comes out next week, hikes 100 basis points right now, priced in about 30% chance that they do the 100 bip hike, almost 70% chance that they do the 75 basis point hike. If they come in at 100 and they're talking about how they're really worried about inflation, that inversion in the yield curve will probably get even further inverted in that short term. Now, if they come out and they do the 75 basis point hike, they talk down some of these fears, then I think you'll see that inversion come out. And coincidentally, you'll see that stock market bounce back pretty good. Because, yeah, though it was nice to see rates up today and stocks up today, stocks I don't think fully buying that we're out of the woods, as right now as we speak, NASDAQ, Dow, and everything else mining the lows on the session.
Yeah, trying to take some profits here heading into the last hour of the day. Let's focus a little bit on what's to come later in the week, because as you said, we get Canadian data, we get Euro data, and we could possibly, as you said, get one of the, I guess it is the first Euro interest rate increase in quite some time.
Absolutely right. We've got, we talked on Friday, Brendan, and I thought, you and I both thought this week was going to be a slow one because we don't have a lot of U.S. data. Now, U.S. has been the hub of the greatest movement in the market coming off of data, be it inflation or interest rate movements. Those are really the hot numbers to be looking at. And you do have some good stuff coming out of the Eurozone, coming out of Canada. Japan also, I think, has an inflation number and an interest rate number, but they've got a whole mess of problems in their own right. I don't think they'll be moving interest rates anytime soon. Tuesday night, we'll have Euro inflation. And then I believe we'll also have an English inflation number and a Canadian inflation number on Wednesday. Thursday is going to be really, really interesting because, yes, the market has priced in that the Eurozone hikes from 0 to 25 basis points. And that is, you might laugh at that if you know what's been going on, with the Fed, the U.S. central bank, because it's like, man, they're just getting off of 0. That's why we're seeing this U.S. strength, this U.S. dollar strength, that is, sorry. It'll be really interesting to see, though, Brendan, not only if they hike or don't hike, it looks like they are, but there's going to be a fair amount of talk coming from the ECB, a nice press conference right there as the U.S. stock market is opening on Thursday morning. I think that's going to cause a good amount of euro US dollar volatility, interest rate volatility, and some stock movement like we've seen off of what's going on in rates and FX. So I'm definitely going to be tuned into that one, as it might be the last gasp of volatility before we hit a quiet period going into next Wednesday's FOMC.
Yeah, ho-hum, another bad report coming out of the European region, obviously. So Tuesday night we'll get the actual data, and then coming up on Thursday, possibly, or it looks like it will be, the rate hike. If you go back to last month, Frank, when we got this same data, same inflation data out of the ECB, out of the UK, out of Canada, how did the US markets react, if you recall?
I mean, it's going to be a similar reaction to what you would imagine from a U.S. inflation number, but just a little bit muted, which makes a lot of sense, right? Because the inflation numbers, and the U.S. has been at the forefront of both high inflation readings and moving around interest rates. And so if a high inflation reading comes out of Europe, you might see a little bit of a push higher in rates, a little bit of a push higher in U.S. dollar, similar to what you would see in a U.S. inflation number. And That's going to be probably a little bit less volatile, though, than you'd expect out of the CPI. Even if you got like a really high inflation number out of Europe, I would still expect a muted response and maybe actually even a great opportunity to fade the action coming out of that. I could see a scenario where Eurozone has a high inflation reading and stocks get hammered for all of a couple of minutes and then bounce back when everyone realizes we're really waiting for the U.S. Fed interest rate decision next week. Because we've already seen such high readings and such high interest rate activity out of the U.S. that almost anything coming out of the Eurozone is going to be second tier. Like, I mean, could you imagine if the ECB comes out and hikes 50 basis points, 75 basis points? That's great, but we're already toying with projections around 3% here in the U.S.
Yeah, no, exactly, and that's kind of what I was leaning towards, in the sense that the market's so craving almost some indication of any sort whatsoever that we're going in the right direction. Especially speaking of right direction, I guess if you're long, anyways, crude oil. 5% on the day, back to the upside here today. Just closed the pit session, obviously, just closing at 2:30 there. But yeah, good look on the higher time frame here. You sent, we'll show the chart here in a second, but we're still back into this range once again for crude.
Yeah, it feels so awkward to be buying 90s or 95s in crude if you've been around, more than a year or so, but it has worked out like clockwork. We're back to $99. That being said, a great trade if you were willing to sell those 99 halves. They rallied this market right up into that old crude oil pit close, and now they're off, 30, 40 cents here. So all that being said, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because there's great trades on both sides of this market. If you're trading in the short term, awesome day trades to be had when this market moves outside of $4 or $5, just getting on the other side of some of those moves because we've seen great reversion in the short term. In the longer term, this is the best mean reversion market that you've seen all year, at least I've seen. Correct me if I'm wrong here, as everything trends to extremes, US dollar, interest rates, stock markets, everything hovering around those extremes. You've got a crude oil market that's been trading around 100 or 105 like a magnet, every time getting up to 115 or above, dragged right back down to that mean. Every time we break into double digit territory, Brennan, bouncing right back. I was talking about this a little bit last week because buying 90s in this market just feels that animal spirits, human instinct kind of kicks in, and your emotions are like, man, I don't know if I can buy these $90 per barrel crude oil futures here. It's worked out great, and I'm going to stick to, like I say, buying anything in the 90 to 95 range, selling anything north of 105, 110 in there, just looking for $3, $4, $5 trades in crude oil in here. And if anyone out there is trading options, the strangles and iron condors centered around 100 have made you a pretty penny for almost 6 months now. And if it ain't broke, I ain't fixing it. We'll see if next stop is 110 or if they do trade in these double digits here. Of course, a lot of people with cars and everything else would like to see this trend lower, but I was really surprised to see, we're coming up on the end of summer here in North America, and we've got this crude oil market that seems to be losing steam. I would have thought this market was going to absolutely tank, Brendan, but bouncing back close to 100, an interesting surprise. Keeping this trade on the table, honestly.
Yeah, and I was going to add, great mean reversion trade, as you said. In the meantime, for all you breakout traders, this will eventually break one way or the other. So when that happens, that's going to be also a great trade. I want to give you a quick plug here, Frank, because I had somebody ask me, okay, great volatility in crude oil markets, I get it, but I can't afford to trade, a full contract of crude oil. Tell them about the SMO at the small exchange.
Yeah, absolutely. The CL futures, yeah, that's a futures market that has done a lot of people in over the years, and it's a place that I would absolutely advise against starting if you're breaking into futures. And that's 1,000 barrels there in the CL futures, 100 barrels for the SMO crude oil futures. You can find out more information at smallexchange.com. And yeah, just a lower risk, smaller trade relative to those traditional futures, letting you trade around looking for, $200, $300, $400 risk reward. Whereas those traditional futures markets move that in a couple of seconds a lot of times. So definitely want to check that out for smaller crude oil markets and small interest rate markets, small US dollar, smallexchange.com for all your needs in that department.
Should be another exciting week. Lots to look forward to. Frank Caberna over at the Small Exchange. We always appreciate your knowledge and insight. Have a great week.
Thanks, Brendan.
We'll hit that one. We should have like a Frank Goat narrative on there, talking about them crude oil futures. Strong move in crude, right? Like that's, you love to see the volatility, and obviously there's all kinds of ways you can trade. So glad we're going to get Frank on to get that bit of a perspective. While you were away, there was that dip buy in EVTL. I didn't get the VWAP. I got some in the 60 range and then was in front of VWAP after it bounced here. I like to see that little bounce and try to catch it on the way back up, or at least some of the shares on the way back up. It's headed back toward that 6 where it failed. Now, you had a double top at 90s. You still have the pre-market highs above that 6 level, so it hasn't really given you that break through the high of the day yet. It still has a chance to get there. We're only in the power hour just now, so there's still time for some of these bad boys to run. I did get into Li Auto as well when that broke down. I took a little bit out, but unless we're going to be screaming back above, we're not near that 12,000 mark, unless we're screaming back and above VWAP, I want to stay in this one. It's now broken down off support. If it rolls over from here, going to be worth an add. And I'm only bringing it up because I saw, I don't know if it was a disagreement or some people were talking about Zila. I saw someone call Zila like junk or garbage or whatever. Look, Zila is a penny stock. I get it. You're not 13 cents without a reason. So we'll sort of move away from that. Just talk about the trade here. It was a strong breakout, and 12 to where it got to 14 just now. That's a pretty solid move as long as you're able to trade it size up. And I was saying it needed to do like 500 million to 1 billion shares to be any good. It's done 600 million. That's actually a lot of volume, but it just put a pretty significant wick off top. Some signs that the selling could be coming into this one, unfortunately, for Zila. Of the names that I'm looking at and been sitting in the short, there's a big difference between BABA, which is pressing off lows once again. I'll probably trail it to about, I don't want to getting past this 103.65, 103.75 area. Should want to lock that one in. But I was just on the bit of QCOM here, Qualcomm, and it just pulled this on me. So I'm going to back away from some of these reload offers, as it just put a pretty significant bounce without the market doing a heck of a lot. Like I went to bid at 141.20s or so just to see if we can't get it out. It put in a higher low. The market was catching a bottom. And the key thing here is it put in a higher low as the NASDAQ was making a fresh low. So some signs that it is coming back in, not going to be reloading when it's showing signs of relative strength. We got Li Auto and Alibaba to the south side anyway, so if this is turned into a bit of a relatively strong name, I'll just take it out in front of 141 and then work with Li Auto and Alibaba, the Chinese names, which are still showing some increased strength. EVTL isn't the only small cap out there, but if you guys, and you're a great community, if you know anything else, I don't see too much that's rallying toward highs of the day at this point, even if it's a small cap name. So I'd love to see if there's anything in Power Hour that's giving us some volume and some press, especially in a down market. You want to find something that is strong, relatively speaking. EVTL's on my radar. I can't really see too much of anything else there. Zila just gave it up at 14.
Yeah, so right now, we tried to go back into Meta. I mean, we got out of Meta there when it broke that 167.50. We're just, it's not going to work here. So we got into small here, 20 cents out right now on Meta on the long. So that doesn't look like it wants to work out just this second here for us on this long. And it looks like we're going to get out of it very, very soon, breaking back down through 90. We'll get out as there it goes, breaking back down lower. But here goes Google again, another one off the sticky note today. I mean, that 111 level, how great was that? I mean, as soon as that showed up, We were long in front of it, made more money long, like I said, than short. But here comes the short right back in now to that low of the day. So this has been a big, big move here for Google today. And again, our #1 stock on the sticky note looks like it's going to be the #1 stock on the show. So happy with that one, followed by Netflix. My second best trade of the day is Netflix, and that's off the sticky note, and that's going to be the #2 net stock here on the show today. Goes Netflix. So that's going to be a nice one as well today. So nice long, and then out right there. It's now coming down to 190, which was a level that we wanted to look at, but I think we're going to stay away from 190. This market is now below that 12,000. And again, you know, you got to take it with a grain of salt, man. Like, what we're talking about early are the trades that we like early. Then when things change up, you have to have the ability to be functional and be able to make your decisions on the fly and possibly change up what you're doing, right? And like I said, like, sure, we're in a $2 winner on Google, but if we were holding that long from the morning, it'd be smoked and we would have gave back almost everything that we made. So you got to be able to say, you know what, the level's here. And that's why we talk about it. I mean, the level's right here on the sticky note. So, I mean, we talked about that today was a good day. Yeah, I tweeted out that Ice Cube thing. It's 111 right there for support, right? So when support gets broken, it's downside. We wanted to push the long at 114. That didn't come in, so we never got that opportunity. And there's the 193 on Netflix. That was great. We took that, should take out 193. We did that in our best out. It went to 200, so that's a $7 winner. We got greedy and didn't take it. NIO's down to 12, and then there's the Apple 150, the apple of our eye. Again, the third highest net stock today is going to be Apple. So, I mean, it's just like, boom, crush these long, crush these short. Now, like Neil said, though, whatever, what's done is done. Like, we'll just move on from this and look for other trades, man. I mean, we talked about Coinbase earlier. Unfortunately, I don't think you traded it unless I missed it early. Like, we missed Coinbase.
I missed Coinbase and then decided to buy the dip. And the only thing good is I didn't get crazy about it in terms of like holding on to it or averaging. I could have just averaged in blindly. I liked the Coinbase at 58. I just didn't get the break. We had a lot that we're looking at in the morning. I then came in at 60 for a dip buy. And the problem with a level that you don't love is you're unlikely to hold on to it very far. So I didn't give it too much room off that. It was a one and done on Coin. But really that 58, now that I look back, it's actually probably a good note. 58's just held. So that 58 level on Coin, still pretty valid. I never liked the fact that a move terminates at, it's like resistance galore at the top here where we actually terminated on Coinbase. I'll zoom in so you can see on the daily a bit better. But how many times has it gotten right up to 63, 64, 65 and rejected? The 50 periods now with that 63 level. So that's this is probably a name if it gets there again, like how am I not going to be shorting it? But I wasn't thinking shorts this morning. We were thinking long opportunities, and that was sort of played out with how we were trading. And then the difference is, after Apple, we've just gone the other direction. So 58's your last ditch in the sand. Now that I see it, not a bad opportunity, but that's still catching a bid. I kind of want to find some longs that aren't just catching lows of the day. It's fine. Those can be valid as well. We've seen them work before. Tesla 700, a couple of times in the afternoon show has been a great one, buying that off a low of the day. And Coin at 58 isn't all that bad either. So I'd probably take a shot at it, but I'd rather be finding something which is relatively stronger instead of giving up pretty much all of its gains. Not all in the case of Coinbase. It's up 10%, but still relatively weak there. Li Auto's going to give me a shot at a potential reload here. So I'm going to see if we can't, maybe it will come into VWAP here. I got a couple of legs out. If we start to get a bit of a rollover, I'll try to get some shares down in that 60 range, exactly what we had here before. And then that EVTL does feel like it's slowing up a little bit. I have paid for shorts. I didn't use them up at $6. Probably worthwhile. That was a failed break. You get a wick off top at 6 even. I think a couple of people in the chat were like, oh, are you shorting that level? Normally I probably would, but it's just a strong bounce off VWAP over and over again and didn't go too parabolic into that level either, which is probably why I got away from it. I'll be taking shares out in front of 6. I don't have any plans on going short at that level now. I think it needs to take this out, try at least test that high where you'd get a 615 break. If it can't get through that high of the day, that would be your new short level, I would suppose, would be that 610. Just one other name just to quickly go over. That NIO doesn't look all that bad off of these 21s. If you can get back above 21, you have the low of the day, 2088. And the other name that I said, if we actually get any bounce off the lows, it was tight enough to its support, we'd like it. Amazon did end up breaking that support, so that might be invalidated. NIO, on the other hand, has a chance to reclaim the 21 level, whereas Amazon, it got away from the support that looked pretty decent about 20 minutes or so ago.
AMD, I'm trying to find out to see if there's any of these chip names that are any close right now. I see some people talking about Nvidia. Yeah, I mean, like, I really like Nvidia. So we tried the long there and it didn't work, so we got out. I mean, Nvidia is a positive name for us today, but barely like a cup of coffee positive. So unfortunately, it's fortunate for everybody, but it is bouncing here off of 160. So, you know, I'd rather go long on like a 163 break here for Nvidia, but you know, it is crossing the 50 period now. It is looking pretty juicy here on that upside break. So there could be something there, you know, if you wanted to look at something like an Nvidia right now, if you thought that this 50 period was something, it's not bad. It's also coinciding here with right there, some of these drop-off levels of actually it's 162. You know what, I'm okay going long here. If we break it back above 162, so right now, Meta right now, let's just cash in on that one. We'll say WTF, as that just went up here again to 57. Yeah, no, shoot, so I wasn't waiting. I was waiting up here at 80. I thought maybe I was waiting in the 50s to take a 30-cent win. We probably should have done that. That's gonna be my bad there because, yeah, that should have been, I mean, in a red market, you're below the 50 period. We should have taken something out below the 50 period as well on Meta. So a little bit of a lesson learned there for me as well because we should have took that profit there. We didn't. So Meta right now, 1 for 1 here on this reload to the upside, but there it is. Nicely done today for Meta. Didn't get out at 171. That's going to wind up hurting. But like I said, the second biggest stock on the board today is going to be Meta next to Google. So we'll wait to see. But that's the 50 period right there, 167.80. No mistake this next time if we get that 167.50. I'll probably just take a 50. Don't know if we'll get it anymore as we just bounced off the 50 period there on the NASDAQ. So just back over to Nvidia. Now it's rejecting that. So that probably was a reload short. I just feel like this market can bounce back. I mean, it was such a good day, and then we got that news from Apple, and then it just started to come back in a little bit here. But we're not going to be stubborn. I mean, we're into power hour. We do obviously know this market can move. We have a nice little $2 winner on as well as pigs get slaughtered, so we don't want to, you know, sit on this Google trade for too long. But there's Google. It looks almost exactly like everything else, man. It looks exactly like that Nvidia trade down here to 109. And again, another spot to possibly get out. You know, that 108 bottom. Someone said, where do I think Google's going to close? Well, I mean, there's still 40 minutes to go, so I don't really have too much of a target here for Google, but let me just show you what it looks like on a split adjusted chart here from eSignal, because unfortunately, guys, our charts won't show you that. But here it is right here. So we've bounced off of a few days ago, 108.50. So that could be a target spot. We visited that a little bit today, up down to 108.70. So we basically hit that, but watch out there, 108.50. I feel like we didn't just hit that just now though, did we? Yeah, we did. We did go to 108.50. Okay, so if I would have looked at this again a little bit more, and my bad, I mean, I'm in these trades. I got to be responsible for these outs. But that out right there at 108.50 could have been taken as well. So maybe that's going to be a good level if it does come back, something to look at here for Google, 108.50. And then, you know, the worst case scenario, I would say, on a day like today, in case it just absolutely collapses into the close and you still want to hold it, which I'm going to. I'm not getting out at 108.50. I just want to tell people about that level. This 107, that looks pretty juicy right there. So we'll see. This sucks, man. I'm a long-term shareholder, obviously, of Google. I remember buying my first piece of this, like $400, $500, and then obviously went to 3,000. But right now, the split adjusted price today, if you're like, oh my God, what's up with Google? It's down 95%. Obviously, that joke is well overplayed now. It's not even, you know, our charts just won't show it, the split adjusted, so I'll have to keep going back to eSignal on that one. But that's going to be a good trade. And then Meta, we're going to try to get out. That's Netflix, which, by the way, we got out. Like, look how good that was. Someone said, what's up to Joshua? He said that, Sean, you've been getting a lot better reversing your longs into shorts. Well, I should have done it there too, as Netflix just dumps right there off that 193 back down to 191. My level for this is 190, so we get a little little lower, then you can come here for 190 on Netflix. But for right now, it looks like that market rejected that 50 period again. We're starting to make lower highs again here. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, you can see this beautiful move to the downside here. Not even really trying to go back up. We tried there, but since then, that's like a fail. And that looks like we're going to try to test a little bit lower here. So, hey, let's hold on. I still like NEO. I know you're into Li Auto as well over there, but some of these names just have to come a little bit lower before I can trust and test any longs.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. I keep looking for something that isn't, like I said, long off the bottom. Maybe it might be AMC again. And quite frankly, when in doubt, zoom out. We say that a lot of times, but I say that often to just remind myself to do it, because you get so caught up looking at your 3-minute or whatever. Maybe it's a 5, maybe it's a 1, whatever you use for your short-term duration when you're day trading. And it's easy to find these levels and then get out when something takes VWAP. But when I look at what's really happening in AMC today, which is a breakout off of last week's high at 16. Yeah, sure, the breakout this morning came off of Thursday's top, and that's nice and clean. But on the higher time frame, it was when it did this. It tried to rug pull off the break of the week's high at 16, maybe 16.15 or so, and then that just got bought up and gobbled up. And then guess what? What are we holding on that dip? I'm out here at VWAP, and then we're holding about 16.20 or so as support. So you're actually holding last week's high as a support level on AMC. That gives you some cover, I think, to maybe run to the upside here. So it's up 7%. I'm not saying it's weak or anything like that, but I should have been willing to give it a little bit more room. I think that's the level to work off of. Last week's high, 16 even, and give it a little bit of place to run. And certainly tomorrow, all that's going to still be valid. You know, if we're still looking above those levels, I'm going to like that as well. And only because Pratt always calls it Amy and I don't know what he calls GameStop.
He calls it Jimmy.
Jimmy and Amy. Okay, so Jimmy, its friend over here, GameStop, not nearly as strong. I think it's got a similar story in terms of respecting last week's levels, but that's resistance, not breaking resistance. Instead, you're looking at the other thing, which is a lower high holding below 150. Yeah, people are saying I should have been short Affirm. No, I should have been short GameStop at 150 today when it got there. That was an obvious level. I don't want to make that mistake twice, to be sure. I just got out of Qualcomm, so I said no reload on QCOM. After it made, well, no third reload, I should say. I did have a second reload on Qualcomm, but no third one. After the market was making a fresh low and Qualcomm decided that it wanted to bounce a little bit, I'm just looking at that shelf. If it tries to reclaim that shelf, I'll just get out. It showed signs of relative strength. If I think the market has a chance to bottom here and bounce back higher, then there's no need to get greedy with this. If this same level breaks in the morning, a lot of times you'll have that follow through at 9:30. But guess what? We'll have a chance to play off 142 maybe several times this week, whether it's going to be support or resistance. But you can't put in higher lows when the market's making lower lows and tell me that's not a bit of a bounce coming. It was pure sympathy play off of Apple and then getting the move a little bit late. I still like 142, but I'm not willing to die on that sword. And as I say that, yeah, my trail could start coming in here on out. I just hit enter. My trail on Alibaba could start to come into play here. It's also catching a bit of a bid on Baba. Looks like you're starting to get a bit of a rise in some of these names. So I might get that shot at NEO, which is only now breaking 21 anyway. So I want to see it holding above 21 before I get into this. We'll have chances to get 2s and 3s. I just like to see a stronger move here. I thought this would be making a bigger move than it is even right now after I just saw Qualcomm come in, Li Auto's back to flat. NEO's not as strong as I would have anticipated.
The Wiz in the building there, Seinfeld episode. Love that episode here. But there's Meta. I mean, we just looked at 30 cents. We said we weren't going to make that mistake again right there. So, hey, reloaded on Meta down there, right there, 167. Let's see if we can now take out the 50 period, obviously, and head back to VWAP 168.80. But there's another quick 30-cent scalp there on Meta up to 50. As we said we'd take it out. So now we can wait for this bottom to break again. And then there's the risk to reward. So if you like it, you can get out. We went up to the 50 period. I said that was going to be my out, and there it is right there again. So no averaging in, no nothing, pretty simple. All of my trades today have been real simple trades, man. Like most of them are one ins and multiple outs. That's how I trade. Like here's AMC, one in, bang all the way to the outside, reload, out there, done, right? Google was pretty great for us here early. I mean, obviously, as it dropped down, we don't, oh man, yeah, I can't show you too much of the pre-market, but you know, we had this 112, 111 pre-market out, came back in all the way down to 111, take a piece out there. That's two ends, one average in right there for what, 70 cents, bang, 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 all the way to the upside. Then all these longs defending that 111. These aren't averages in, guys. These are outs. Like, we're in there, we're out. We're in, then we're out. Then we're in, and then we're out, out, out again, right? And then the last one, we went in and out there at 111, didn't work. Then we hit the short, and now Google's still printing. It's at that 50 period, but the other way around. So Meta is still trying to, well, Meta's trying to get above it, but if you see here, Google right now, it's above it and trying to now break lower. So Meta's trying to break above, Google's trying to break below. So that's not the situation we want, because I'm flipped out the wrong way if that's what's going to be the case. But Brennan's got some news, so give it to us.
I'm just going to mention some of these cruise lines, guys, trying to tick back to the upside. Here's a RCL up 5.5%. Flip over and show you basically the same thing. CCL, RCL. It's actually CCL doing better, 6.25%. The CDC's COVID-19 program for cruise lines no longer in effect as of today, apparently. So big day for the cruise lines.
Yeah, at one point, I mean, CCL was up 10% at one point. It was just churning. Sorry, it was breaking $10. I don't know if it was actually exactly 10%. It got really close, if not actually getting to that 10% mark. But it's just, yeah, like it gave up support a while ago. We're only getting back to it now. Like, I want to be able to find something. It was relatively strong all day, but I want to be able to say, yeah, you could jump into this as a long trade. That's not what I see. Like, I see a trend reversal, still holding below VWAP. I'd want to see this breaking a little bit stronger than that. It's just hard to get into a long under those circumstances, unfortunately, as I see that on CCL. I still, you know, I'm not in a firm right now, but I'm not going to ignore the fact that this put in an interesting double bottom of a sort at 23.77. This is one that I would not be taking, but it's showing some bullish signs. Certainly, I would much prefer shorting at 24.40. I just got a bounce play in EVTL, so that Phil. Every time I put this symbol in, it's 4 digits. I type in NASDAQ instead of NY. Just for some reason, I feel like this should be a NASDAQ stock, but I just got a dip in front of VWAP. It's had some trouble getting through 580. So getting the dip in here in these 60s, it's going to be hard not to want to take some out in those 70s. It's turned into a scalp trade and a failed breakout at $6 this late in the session. I mean, it's great. It's been bouncing off VWAP, so it's been a good level to be buying this afternoon. But at some point, you get to the end of the day, this stock, while up 13%, it's a bit deceiving because it gapped up in the pre-market and then spent the entire morning falling and then having to regain some of those highs. So really, you've had a rejection of this price area despite the fact that it's been a buy since this morning. So you're going to have to take profit going into 6 a little more aggressively as we are running out of time on the day. We got to be flat, got to have no positions by 4 o'clock for us here at Day Trade the World. Brendo?
Interesting note on Twitter, just popping up here on some volume back to the upside. The judge apparently has COVID. So there was a motion that was filed, I think, from Elon over the weekend trying to delay everything. Instead of postponing having a look at that motion, she's going to do it by Zoom. So, trooper. Not to cheer anyone with COVID, but apparently the judge has COVID, guys.
That's hilarious, because Elon essentially has been trying to get that pushed away. There's obvious reasons why it's good for Elon the longer this takes than for shareholders in Twitter. They're telling everybody, make sure you vote the deal up as soon as possible to put more forward pressure on resolving this. Anyways, it's actually a pretty strong stock today. I like the 37 level if we get it, probably all week. It's got a decent floor on it after the last little bit that we've been able to see here. So Twitter, I don't see a trade this afternoon, but certainly the long wasn't that bad today if you happen to have it. That NEO, yeah, was sitting on the bid at 01s. Like, it's just the slowest climb up ever. And what am I going to do? Like, sit on the bid at 02s and see if we can't catch
21? Yeah, 21. Okay.
It got back above 21, And it's just like really, is it just going to go sideways? I guess it could just go sideways. I just stepped up to 02s there. I mean, at the end of the day, like if you're giving it to the lows, or you're giving it to this consolidation 95 area, you know, whether you get 01s or 02s, it's a bit splitting hairs. The market is trying to sustain this bounce a little bit here, so I do like some of the longs. I mentioned I do need to take some profit on that EVTL before all of a sudden like your power up ends and then, you know, like the star runs out on you. Well, the volume's been running out on EVTL, which I just typed in at NASDAQ again. It's still a New York stock, you know. So I just got some out in front of at that 70 level. I'll take more shares out in front of 80. I still want to have something long in case it makes a run at that high of the day. We are running out of time for this move to start to work a little bit stronger on EVTL. And there will be people, I think, selling at $6. I think that's absolutely inevitable, unfortunately. And I can't go long NEO without actually taking a quick look at Tesla. Okay, fine. I just got another fill in EVTL, so that's continuing to go up. But yeah, as I'm getting long in NEO, I'm like, what's Tesla doing? Ooh, no, Tesla's heading back into the downside. So that's one of those, like, you know when Will Ferrell, like he jumps into the pit and he's like, I immediately regret this decision. Look at Tesla before you bid higher on NIO. That's what I should do next time. I have a support level that I can get out on for NEO, but I don't want to see Tesla making some fresh lows in here. And I'm sure BABA too. It's like, I like that one to the short side. So might have got in a little bit too aggressively on NEO with that 02 range. Should have maybe waited for it to hold 21 a little bit longer, because Tesla's about to make a fresh low here, which is never a good sign for the entire EV space. Yes, NEO trades on its own, but it's not like Tesla's going to break the bottoms and NEO's going to manage to hold up for very long.
Well, yeah, Tesla will go. I mean, if this market continues to break lower, then yeah, NEO, Tesla. I'm going to wait for 20. We'll wait to see where it goes. But Meta right now did make a move back up to 168. That should have been, you know, again, we are looking these gift horses in the mouth here, because this is another 50-cent winner for us, regardless of NEO, Meta, whatever. Like, make sure you trade, you know, the right levels and that you're on them. So we're going to wait to see here for Meta. I still think up here, it could be a play 168 and change. I do see, yo, what's up, Havana Woody? How you doing? Yeah, look, I don't want to question my own strategy on Google, because, like I said, it's the #1 stock here today. I'm happy to be part of that. So we'll wait to see if it takes down this 110. I just feel like this NASDAQ doesn't want to go today. So it sucks that we are long. It doesn't suck that we're long Meta. I like that trade, but I think it's a little bit of a hedge here. And I just think that Google, and I'm not leaving that much money on the table. I'm actually pretty much out of Google. Most of the outs were honestly, right into this area right here, 110, 109.80, 109.60. And then we just hold 10% now left on our Google trade. So, you know, in being honest, that's what it is. We have half of our Meta trade, so I'm a little more concerned with Meta, but at the same time, Meta up 1.83%, market down 0.5. So if the market does rebound, that's why I try to want to hold on to this Meta. I really think there's a lot of runway back up to the upside, and then the downside is just a flat trade. So I'm going to like risk to reward this one. I've already taken out 40 cents. So if we do get dipped down there, that's a 40-cent hit. So to me, it's 1-to-1, and we'll ride with Meta now, going right back up to the upside on that one. AMC, okay, so I went over there and I just thought the momentum was going to continue to go here on AMC. So we do punch. Again, just to let you guys know, in the morning, the position I'm on right now is 10% of this fill that I had. So it's 10% of the fill that I had in the morning when it broke with bigger volume, right? So if you look at right now, I do look at volume all the time, obviously. It's not that high, but if you do just have a quick look here at this, and I'm going to talk about it because I'm trying to get longer right now too on this. But you see, we did have a bunch of volume there, candles all green. So I was wondering if we were going to get going again. It looks like we'll be wrong on the AMC trade, which is fine. We won't even come close to giving back what we made today, but a losing trade is still a losing trade. We're going to average into this one until 1640 breaks. So it's going to come back in. I'm on the bid here at 52. So I don't know, there was someone watcher alert or something like that. That's like, oh, well, you know, these guys have to average in. I don't have to do shit. Like, I'm just going to average it here, right? I'm responsible for my own trades. So as we go, you know, not every trade I'm going to make is going to be the very best in and the very best out. Although we do have some of those today, we do have the ability here to say, I'm only taking 10% of the fill here, giving myself room to average in. So that's just how I trade, and you don't have to trade that way. That's completely fine. But that one right there, I'll put on another 10% to have a decent position, but not the big guy for AMC. And then we're just going to see right around here the 1640 level if it holds, because I have enough. Like, I'm nowhere. I'm up today. I have no LFT. I'm at the highest spot we've been at all day. So nothing to complain about. I just don't. If levels break and things don't make sense, that's where, like, that's why I have a 21-year career here. Like we talked about it, no negative months. Like, I'll look for you the last time we had a negative month, but it wasn't last year. I'll tell you that much. So we'll wait to see here what's going on right now with AMC down to 1640. So there it is. It's my averaged in price right now. 1658 is the long. Like I said, half there and half again. And if it comes down, we will lose 18 cents on what is going to be still a hit, right? It's still going to be 20% of this position, but, you know, still a hit possibly coming up for AMC against this level. Let's see if it goes, but my average price right now is 1658. We'll see if we can get back up here to 65 or so, and then just go from there. But so far, so good. Meta's come all the way back, and guess what? There's Google. So shout out to Havana Woody. You might be right on your long. I still think the long has a good chance today, but until we get above this 50 period and hang out above there, your boy is going to be short.
Yeah, speaking of shorts, I just got another bid on Li Auto. So as that's working, I mean, Neo's probably going to lose realistically. I'm probably too quick to get into that. Should have had a look at Tesla, but my stop is in at that low of the day. I did want to come, there's two things. One, I wanted to talk about DraftKings here. Very quick. Look, DraftKings was a monster on Friday. Everyone saw that. And then now you're holding above the 50. In this bit of a pullback, this is what I love to see. Like, you hold that close price, this 13 level. If we close above the 50 period in the midst of this flush, let's say we make some fresh lows, DraftKings is still trying to break out. Even a couple of days of consolidation at 13 would be a pretty good sign, even if the market were to pull back in here. And I just want to make a clarification. I saw someone say in the chat, Elon can just pay the $1 billion. That actually is not how it works. The breakup fee is there in case the deal doesn't go through. But look, when you make a tender offer, you have to have valid reasons to break that contract, right? So the judge can rule that Elon has to pay $54.20. That is 100%. That is on the table. If a judge says you have to pay the full thing, then he's going to have to do that. That's why it's going to be a protracted legal battle. These things have happened in the past. The most recent big case didn't get to a decision. It was LVMH and Tiffany. They decided before things got to that point that they would come to an agreement at a lower price. And I still think that's the most likely thing to happen here. But who knows? I mean, predicting what's going to happen there has been pretty difficult. Just know that Elon can be forced to pay $54.20. That is a thing. Like, it's not him going to jail. It's him coming through and actually doing the deal that I know every shareholder of Twitter would love to have. So I'm probably not going to be reloading too many more times here in Li Auto. I just wanted to come back over to that EVTL. It does look like this one might be running out of juice. So, you know, buying these dips could be done at least for today. But the trend never truly got broken here since it made that 460 bottom. I'm on the 15-minute chart here just to get a perspective of what this thing did yesterday. It is lining up that if we close up here without gapping down, you could still have a breakout above on this EVTL. I just don't think we're going to be able to get that run in the end of the day today. We're running out of time for that to happen, hence why I've taken some shares out, and I'm unlikely to reload one more time here in EVTL.
Funny thing is, yeah, that Twitter, like, you know, he's probably going to buy it at 54.20, then, I mean, it'll be private, and then resell it to somebody for like 64.20, and make just a couple more $1 billion.
Don't you mean 69?
Yeah, 69.20, sure.
69.42.
Yeah, you got it. You know, who knows? Let's just wait to see how that goes. I am a small Twitter shareholder, but my price is like 20 something from a hell of a long time ago. Doesn't mean that I made a mistake by not, I mean, I did sell some of it, but more of it there. My whole logic with Twitter was, if it wasn't really, you know, rocking up, which it did rock up when President Trump was there a little bit anyways, back there in, I mean, I guess 2020, 2021. I mean, we all know how the presidential race went, but, you know, like, that was talked about all the time, Twitter. So I feel like that should have ramped up at that point. If it's not going to do it then I'm not sure. And maybe Elon can or cannot figure out how to monetize that thing. But let's just move on Twitter, because honestly, it's boring at this point, because it's not that it's boring. It's just, we got to wait. I mean, I think there's headline risk associated, obviously, with Twitter, and we'll just move on until we definitely find that headline to come through. And then we'll be all over that. And then when I'm talking about headlines here, I mean, that's really what got us into this Apple trade, which I wish we were still in here on the short, but we did take the long and made money back again. And I guess I averaged into this short too, right? Right there, Fahad, at 149.50 here. I guess we would have averaged in on that trade too, right? I already banned that guy there because,
Fahad,
you know, we're done. No, I didn't ban Fahad.
I'm joking. I know
Yeah. That's coming up. But right now, 149 there, boom to the outside. Like, look, this is one trade. There's another trade long. There's the short. There's the long. So we'll watch to see. But here it comes back down to the downside. So this is the thing. Google's now $2.20 in the money at the day's low. Meta, I could get out for flat. So, you know, as this market continues to go down, guys, I am going to take this Meta out for flat there. You know, if we can get it there, there we go. We'll punch out at that 14-15 level, get out of that one there, as now it's starting to collapse a little bit down. But we get out of our Meta right there. And there it is, man. I'm going to cancel my stop now because I don't want to go short. It's starting to come back down. We just take that out there on Meta. That's that. End that trade. Put that on the board. Do a couple backflips. Meta, my second stock today to the longs, or my most profitable name twice. Meta there today with Google #1, and that's still going down. So here we go. Just as humble as we are with our winners, here comes a loser on. I did hear, I think it was Beatfinex. What's up? Thanks you for being a member. Look, I love to talk about losing trades on the trade of the day. That's not, today I didn't have anything to do that for. Trade of the day is supposed to be like lessons learned and things like that. So that's what we're trying to focus on when we do the trade of the day. Not that they're big winners, but I do understand that we do focus more on the winning side. So I'm going to put a mental block. Thank you for the suggestion. I think we all learn a little bit more from our mistakes than we do from our wins.
It's true.
I think that's true. And I think Neil and I have talked about this.
I got one.
We will put it back on the board. I just want to say, we'll do a better job moving forward of trying to do that. But just to give you guys the secret on how we pick our trades of the day, obviously because we're trying to get more subscribers and more followers, if there is something trending on YouTube and we've traded it, we won't force the trade. But if, you know, Apple today dropped that news, it made sense that we covered it as the trade of the day.
It's the best learning experience. Like, I mean, so reacting to Snap News gives you huge opportunities as a trader. So learning how to be able to trade that, I think, is pretty valuable. We go over breakouts and some of these dip buys. We do that all the time. It's just when you get a unique opportunity with something like an Apple or maybe like a Federal Reserve
AMC
reaction trade,
like
or AMC goes nuts. So sometimes those just are the ones that we're going to go with. But I was saying in the chat, like right after I got into Neo, I'm like, I immediately regret the decision. I could have just gotten out. Instead, I just kept my stop at that low and then just allow myself to get stopped out. And I'll look back and ask myself why I'm going to allow that to happen. I could have just gotten out for like a 3-cent hit instead of like a 15-cent hit. Right now, risk to reward, I don't mind the trade, I don't mind the setup, and I don't mind the level at all, but the market didn't have the juice in it. And to juxtapose that, it's like, I'm sitting here and what's actually working today? It's just going, rinsing, repeating Liotto off that breakdown, and it continues to flush lower. I may get to hold this into the close. Alibaba, which is relatively weak. What do those two names have in common? Like, I'm sitting here short, only shorts in two Chinese names, and I'm going to go to force a long in Neo. Yeah, I mean, obviously that sucks, but you know, it happened. I'm out of it now. We'll hold on to the shorts that are indeed working. I just can't find anything that I love to the long side. So it's been Liotto that I like for that breakdown. It's set up. Baba didn't really trail me. Now Baba's just, I mean, this stock is just dying. It's into 103, by the way. This is not insignificant, right? Like, it had resistance right around 103 at Friday's close. This is on my 3-minute chart here. So I would anticipate you might catch a little bit of a bounce here. And it's 340 or close to 340 anyway. So I'm very likely to take this one out if it gets to that close price that we had. What's like 102.44. The top here was 102.75. If we get into that range, I'm likely to just ring the register on Alibaba. This is one that it had its own catalyst. You want to know why I like it short? Because of what happened the last couple of days for Alibaba. But you could have gone to a lot of names up at these highs, and it would have been just about anything you like. I'm going to pick on a firm because that's kind of what I look at.
Because you love to do that.
No, it's not. Yeah.
That's fine.
It's fine.
You got to have those names.
But truth be told, like, if you reverse short into anything at the moment Apple had that news, it would have worked out for you. Now, Apple's going to make the biggest move because it had that news, but just about everything did. But that doesn't invalidate the fact that a firm has actually held out the breakout price from this morning. So as I was going back and looking for things to maybe buy off some of these lows, NEO, which is in the space that was pulling back, like the Chinese names, or Firm, which didn't have any particular other tailwinds on it other than the market had pulled in when Apple pulled in. Firm, oddly enough, would have been a better long off of that morning breakout and then support level. You know, so maybe I should have gone to a Firm. I don't like going long a Firm recently, but it would have worked out for you. Good scalp trade in there. It's held those lows. I don't think I want to do it right now. I think you want to hold on to your shorts and then Tesla. And the other reason why I shouldn't have been involved in NEO is a more obvious one. Here's Tesla, low of the day breaking, 720 incoming. I do not want to defend 720. I like that trade in the morning. I don't like it right now.
That's another thing, too, that you guys have to understand about us is like, you know, when we're trading here in the morning, you might hear us say something in the morning. We like a certain level, and then, you know, stuff changes. I won't use that word again, but stuff changes. And then the downside, yeah, I mean, I've already said it a couple times. But here we go, AMC. And again, look at this. This is another thing. And I would do this as the trade of the day. Honestly, if this doesn't work out, this could be a good lesson because look where we bounced at 40. That was my out. So if my out's going to be 40, I probably shouldn't have averaged into 50 there on that average price. So we're still down 11 cents on this trade. Not a big deal, but like that's another lesson right there. If my out's going to be 40, then I should have averaged in down here near 40. Then when it breaks, I can give it a little more room, even like down here to 35 or so, but we're unable to do that. If we had, then this move back to 55 would have given us the middle, and therefore we'd be about flat on the trade. So there, that's like another little piece there that sometimes gets missed by myself and by all of us, is just like sometimes these key levels, that's kind of where you need to start it. And I want to talk about that with Google because, you know, Google came back in and then we literally put on a big position here at 111, like 111.10. But then as soon as it broke, we didn't give it any room whatsoever because 111 was a monstrous level for us. So the minute that broke, we just instantly reverted into the short and reversed back to the short. So we were long, then into the short, and now you could see it's cash money millionaire time here and not a million. I wish we would have made a million on this trade, obviously, but yeah, a milli there. Shout out to Drake, man. How much money do you need to? No, because I'll tell you the story why. Well, first of all, him and Lil Wayne are boys. They're really close. But for OVO Fest, it's $600 is like the minimum price to grab a ticket for OVO Fest. And on the Monday, it's like Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj, Drake, and somebody else. But anyways,
if the people are gonna
it's
pay
big, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just feel like, come on, man. Like, I know Drake does a lot of things. There's a lot. He opens up a lot of schools and a lot of things here, funding, maybe not open schools, but helps fund a lot of this.
I got a ticket price beef, man.
His kid is in our school system here in Toronto as well. So, you know, anyways, I just want to say, like, come on, man. Put those prices up. I'm going to see Wu-Tang at the same venue there, the amphitheater, and I think those tickets, I know Wu-Tang and Drake a little different, but I think those were like 50 bucks.
Yeah, a little different because Wu-Tang is like on
Wu-Tang is like on a whole nother level to the upside there, but that should be a real fun one as well, so I'm looking forward to that. But that was my thing about Lil Wayne. That's why I said a milli there, because another song by Lil Wayne. Plus, Lil Wayne is a Green Bay Packer fan, so Neil, don't hold that against him.
You know, I actually didn't know that.
Oh, it's his biggest thing. It's because apparently he grew up dirt poor, and his dad, for some reason, they were on the street. And somebody, I think it was a Packer fan at a Saints game, gave his family a bunch of Packer gear. Okay. Because they were on the street. So, they started to wear it, and then he supported the Packers. He sang like anthems and stuff like that.
Look, he's got some great. So anyways, not to get too much about Lil Wayne.
We'll go on.
You hear about his past, but I have an issue with tickets. I was at the game on Saturday with my nephew his first time, and the people behind me, people talk about that. Yeah, these are good seats, and how much they paid for it. Yeah. And they were talking about. They just finished talking about how much they paid for the seats in a kind of a complaining way that it was expensive, and then at the same time they were like ripping how much the athletes were making. I was like, well, if you're paying $150 for your seat, and I can tell you right now, that's not what that seat is worth. I've seen tickets that you pay way over. But you can't sit there and you're paying. You can't complain with the athletes. You want the owners to get that money? Like, give me a break, man. So I would rather see the person that you pay to see. I want them to get paid for it, man. Like,
it sounds like the guy got screwed on Ticketmaster stuff.
They definitely got screwed.
Yeah,
on
like they
that
bought
person should have reached out. I'll sell you my seats for cheaper than that. But it's one of those things like it's worth what people are willing to pay for it. So if you don't think the athletes are worth it, they'll go watch the game, man. Like it gets me frustrated at times when I see that. But it is what it is. I love saying that phrase every now and then. But this market just still going crazy here to the downside. And look, the most important thing I think for this afternoon show is when we're talking about you can like things for one way and sometimes it's the other way. You know, that's a famous line from Marlowe, one of my favorite characters in The Wire, but it's true. You want it to be one way, it's the other. We wanted it to hold above 12,000 today and be in the midst of a breakout. That's what the NASDAQ was doing. It looked like we were going to break out on the weekly. All of a sudden we reversed. We were still consolidating off support. Apple News dropped, we break the lows. So it's only shorts that are coming in here today, and you just have to be able to just adjust your plan of action, get away from maybe just reloading on some longs. I mean, I made a mistake on NEO this afternoon, but that's fine. And then just find yourself into some shorts. There's nothing else to be done. Just rang the register again on Li Auto. I should have hit the home run because it was a baseball draft, and it's the Derby tonight. Watch out for Julio.
Oh, was that tonight? I was wondering when that was.
It's always Mondays, right? If it isn't tonight, then I'm sorry for misinforming you. But watch out for Julio Rodriguez. I can't wait to see that kid absolutely bomb. But
so is that your call?
Here's the problem.
Because I'm going to bet it.
He's going to be long odds, and realistically,
that's okay.
Chalk is Alonso because he always wins and he's back in it. But this kid is special.
Alonso's
so
in it again.
The young kids don't always do it. But I remember what Vlad did when he went in the first time, and I'm like, this kid could easily put on that kind of a show. So I'd love to see him do that. I'm not a big Mariners fan or anything. I'm a Jays fan, but yeah, I'll be watching the Derby. Hopefully, if my daughter gets down.
Can Acuna Jr. win?
Nah, I don't.
He's
10-1. I don't like him in derbies. I don't like Acuna in the Derby. I just got some more out of Li Auto. 5 minutes till the imbalances come out. Now remember, not always the case that these numbers mean anything, but we're indicating a small buy, 190 million to buy, despite the market flushing. Doesn't mean the market is going to bounce from here, but it is something worth keeping an eye on. That's why I'm continuing to take profit. I keep moving my trail on Alibaba because I feel like that's the only That's the only thing to do at this point. I have my bid down in front of yesterday's close. My trail, which was up around just below that 104, is now going to sit at 103.5. So at some point, this is going to have to get given up. Either it's right before 350 or at 350 on a potential spike. I'll keep moving my trail as this heads lower. But 103 has held for now. So the even dollar holding up on Alibaba. This could be one that I come in tomorrow and still like the shorts, as weak as it's relatively been. It's up on the day. That's weird to say with the market being red, but it just got sold off after an initial pop, and the trend has been pretty clean to that downside.
Yeah, so Julio Rodriguez 8-1.
Yeah, he's better than Acuna.
He's better. But they're very similar.
But Alonso's going to be chalk.
No, he's 2-1, which is
in a derby. That's yeah.
And then Schwarber 3.5-1. So, okay, I was not impressed. I mean, I saw Schwarber when we went to the Phillies. I don't know. I don't know if he's going to win it or not. Acuna might be good at that 10-1 there on a boost from FanDuel. So check on that. On that note, okay, it's 3:45. All right, there goes Amy down to the downside there. So we give back a little bit of money, and there's the break. So that stock beats us up a little bit right there, but that's completely fine, guys. We're jamming right now as this market continues. Man, we're only 250 now in the money on Google, as our target there was 108. So it looks like that's going to come into play. I don't know, Brendan. I know we're going to throw to you there. If you have anything on the market imbalance, some people are asking, but let's go over to Brendan.
Yeah, Neil was just mentioning their small buy so far, not a big deal, but yeah, small buy, 190 million. I was going to talk about this. We talked about this very briefly last week. TSLQ, which is that single stock inverse ETF for Tesla. So single stock inverse ETF for Tesla. Now, it had done absolutely nothing all day on zero volume, but once this significant market sell-off kicked off, a lot more liquidity came in and a lot more movement obviously came in. So if you're not a big fan of maybe shorting a $700 stock or whatever it is today in Tesla, you know, this is an inverse ETF making quite the move here, guys. 47.50 up to 49.5 now, just taking out that last high. Decent volume and liquidity on this for the past hour or so.
I'm waiting for there to be like a 3x one. Like, I think that's when things get spicy.
Yeah, I thought there was a Tesla 3x one.
All I
But
know is they approve.
Right, that was the
they
talk,
approve
right.
that they can be
Right,
like
okay, okay.
Yeah, but I don't think there is
When he
one
brought
out
that up,
there.
I'm like, how is that up? But it's the inverse.
And is Tesla the only one
Not
so
the
far?
3X.
Like, obviously, it's approved now, so you might start to see many of these. But I thought there'd be more than just Tesla at this point.
Tesla inverse.
Yeah. I mean, you know what it's good for? It's just a lot easier for people that want to swing trade to the short side without playing options.
Well, and
right?
I like the price too. It was only $50.
Yeah, it's relatively cheap, so it's a good trading vehicle. The first day didn't have a lot of volume, but I'm glad Brennan brought it to our attention just to remind me to have it up and have some looks at it. Zila, there. I mean, we're looking for things that were relatively strong. I kind of wrote this stock off when it put up that wick off top at 14 cents, but hey, I might be watching this one tomorrow and not really ignoring it the way we have. Pretty strong there. I mentioned it this morning for a break that I didn't take. So I make that mistake all the time. I'll say that looks like a pretty good level. And 12 cents did look like a good break. And then at noon, I know where. Hey, we're in the meeting, that's why. Then it makes that breakout at 12 cents. And that was really good. It even holds support at 12 cents up to 14. I was asking myself, like, why didn't I like that break? Oh, yeah, because we were busy improving the show. But 12 cents looks fantastic. However, you got to look to what is next. This is still, as far as I'm concerned, it's a day one move. It's breaking off consolidation. So you still have a chance, now that it's reclaimed that previous low at 12 cents, to make another move higher. And again, I would probably tell you that, does it seem impressive that it gets to 19 or 20 cents tomorrow, where the 50 period is, where previous resistance was? That might not seem impressive, but that's 50% from here. So Zila does have some room to maybe give us longs off 12, or maybe even bring up 14, or consolidation long at 13 with a 12 stop. There's some trades to be had for this stock tomorrow. You're not going to find much, which is closing at the highs. It's going to be a small cap. It's going to be a penny stock. It's going to be something reverse. It's going to be maybe UVXY or something like that. But the equities are just getting crushed. With only 1 minute till the imbalances come out, I will once again tighten up my stops on both these. I might just be getting out of Li Auto. It doesn't have the momentum. It doesn't have the momentum that Baba has had in the afternoon. So get out of Lee and then see if I can tighten up that trail in Alibaba with 30 seconds to go till these imbalances come. Still indicating a buy, despite the fact the market is selling off.
Guys, 4,700 people watching, 700 likes. Let's get that going there. We haven't even asked for it yet. I think we've done a lot of fun things on the show, talking sports, talking trading, everything. We're going to give you the imbalances, which once again, no other show gives you. So, if you like what we're about to do, man, hit that like button, please. With only a minute to go, or only 10 seconds to go, here come the imbalances. We're only short Google at that low of the day right now, so all well here. And let's just see what happens with this marketplace here into the close. So CSX, a nice little buy as we'll hit the rails up there. ATVI, I mean, Activision Blizzard, I mean, I don't know, is Microsoft still being forced to buy that? I wish they weren't. ATVI right there to the downside. Like, come on, Microsoft, man, free up like $50 billion and just get rid of this stupid deal. But they can't, I guess. AMD right there as a nice buy as well. That's going to head to the upside there on a little bit of a tick higher. And I'll just try to zoom in a little bit so you can see what we're talking about. Look at that. There's AMD with a nice little bump up to the high side. And the NASDAQ starting to go. So let's just exit now our Google trade on a 109 break. So 109 or so, we're going to get out of Google here, put that trade in and now exit it. So let's just go over to it so you can see quickly. Here it is. We are short Google. There's the little bump up. I don't know where it is on here. I'm not going to look right now. I got to trade this, but there it is. 109 is the 50 period. We rode this all the way down, man. What a fun ride that was. Google, my number one stock today. And let's just keep on printing. Like, I'm up more than double on Google than my next best name. And as long as I get out of this at 109, unless it somehow spikes up, we'll end the day at our highest spot today. So definitely a big successful one for us. Let's just see what CSX does here on that move, as that's a little bit of an oversized play. It's only 8 million shares, so there's the bump. Not much, but 28.80. If you could somehow have that crystal ball, then there you go. You get a nice little 12-cent bump. But yeah, whatever. I mean, that's nothing. So, all right, into the close we go, man. Lyft, I guess, Neil. I don't actually even see Lyft.
I went to look to. Is
there anything there?
I just got trailed out of Alibaba, so we'll kind of ring and register there. But Lyft, Lyft was already down. You saw like Neil. I was talking Uber a little bit earlier as well. The entire market, but not much of a move there on the imbalances. So when it comes at $1 million to sell, and the stock had already pulled back off of a pretty significant high, sometimes it's sort of baked in and enough selling has come in and no one wants to actually trade it. It's across the board. It was probably, I don't know if there are any big names out there other than like, I saw Snapchat for like 500,000, AMD for 600,000, CCL for 500,000. Yet we actually came out net $1 billion to sell overall. So, when you add it all up, it is $1 billion. But I'm looking at some of these names, and you get a lot of some warrants on here and some oddball names on the list. I would say it's more mixed than anything else when it comes to the big caps, those imbalances. Just going to check back in on Tesla. I was watching that one off that low of the day. I said I wouldn't play that 720 level because it's a different story at the end of the day. You know what? It held up pretty well. It managed to bounce below, got to like 719 or so. Now you're getting a bit of consolidation. So it's a decent support level into a flush. That's where it decided to bounce. But that doesn't mean you automatically go long. If it's 700, a big psychological level like that, a lot of times you'll see us go 750 cents, 701, just start scalping the long style trade. I wasn't willing to do that into the weak market here with Tesla, but it managed to hold up pretty nicely, that level that we liked. I'll probably come in tomorrow thinking about 720 as a support level unless something crazy happens overnight. I mean, that can happen. We could gap away from this price, and then I'm basically ignoring it altogether tomorrow. Just checking back in on the strongest name in the market today. No, I'm kidding. I can't even finish that thought with a straight face. Zila, it does make another push into that high of the day. This does need to be on my radar tomorrow. I ignored it, missed the breakout at 12. It is setting up to make a bit of a run. The 50 period gives you plenty of room to get to 1920 as well. So Zila is going to be on my radar. The volume's 700 million shares, so that's pretty legitimate. Just because it's a penny stock and you can say what you want about the company, it's all about trading opportunities. I started out as a penny stock trader when I was day trading, so I never mind going back to that. Zila will be on my list tomorrow.
Yeah, same. I was trading penny stocks as well, but for me, I don't prefer them under $1. But actually, we had a meeting today. And we're talking about to each their own. Like you got to trade the style that you like, right? And I mean that's why it's not really worth copying Neil or myself unless you understand why we're doing it. And that's the whole point of what the show is. Let's try to explain to you what we're doing and why. There goes Google. Oh, I didn't get it. Oh yeah, because 109 hasn't broke yet. And there goes 109 break right there. So we are now out of Google. What a good trade that was. $2 to end the day there. What up to Ms. V one more time there? Yeah, good trade so far. I don't mean to trigger anybody on that Ms. V thing there. But there it is. We are now out, and now we are over with. Yeah, too late on that one. So we are now done. We are now flat for the day. I think one of the strongest names in the market today, that's an actual stock that a lot of people could be trading. What about the cruise lines? Well, no, because you made fun of Zila saying it wasn't a real stock. But, CCL is another one here today, up 6%. It was up a lot more, a nice move back down. So I think that this could be one on the radar tomorrow. You have barcoding in between $8 and $9. So if this somehow opens down or opens and takes out that 10 again, this is what CCL did today. It basically stopped on a dime at 10. It stopped at 10.10, but regardless, it didn't really want to get above that 10 after starting at 950. Straight shots to the upside, and now basically closing where that bump happened. So I think if it's going to be a positive market tomorrow, and the thing is that it's not like I can sit here and say, like, I think you could swing CCL. It's so dependent on headlines that it is pretty risky out there. But it's not Netflix tomorrow. It's Netflix tomorrow aftermarket. Yes. So let's go over, and I believe Brendan's going to discuss, or at least show off, our earnings board here so we can see what to preview tomorrow AM.
Indeed. We'll show you what's coming for tomorrow. So the way we set this up, guys, is always for the following trade day. So everything you see on this board will be able to trade tomorrow post earnings. So yeah, that's coming either tonight or tomorrow morning. And then, yeah, Sean, there it is. For aftermarket tomorrow, Netflix.
Yeah, like don't get me wrong, like there's good, interesting, I guess investing names up there. We said that in the morning show. IBM and Johnson & Johnson, both solid companies. For trade purposes, even in front of earnings, Netflix is what we care about, right? Like we care about Netflix and we care about Tesla this week as far as trading vehicles go. Other than that, I mean, look to what is moving, right? Like I think Google's going to have some trading opportunities. Every single Chinese stock's going to have them. The chips are going to have them. Apple's going to be there. After the day that AMC put in, we have to be watching that as well. Maybe not so much. I mean, GameStop resistance at 150 could be in play. But just trade what moves, and you know what? Forget that. Just trade what worked for you the day before. I'll probably come back in and look at the trades at the end of the day today. I'll look at Li Auto and Alibaba for weakness. I'll see if Billy's still relatively strong there, and I'll be checking in on that Zila. Even if I didn't trade it, I like what I saw out of Zila, and it can make some sense. There's one small cap. I saw someone put in that iLag. I'll be watching this one tomorrow because it came all the way back to like $3 on this stock this morning. Was just a wall going into the open, and then it broke $4 later on. It's right back to $3 I will say what goes up must come down, but not me, clown. But this is that on crack, obviously. But if it goes through 3, this supported off $2 here previously. If it breaks $3, you could be headed towards 2. If you hold 3, you can have some secondary rallies on it. This is just a stock that I anticipate could it still move for a day or 2 more. You might have seen the best of it here today. But as long as we're above $3, there's something to be had for this iLag. I already forget the name of the company. I just know that they're a small float.
Yeah, iLag, a good one there today. I didn't trade anything that was small float today, so the biggest one was going to be like that you could have said was maybe AMC. Not that it's a small float, but like one of those runner stocks. Yeah. But I didn't. I basically stayed away, man. Today it was all about the big caps for me. We'll see if it changes on that tomorrow. I was really excited to trade that Google back up to the upside. So we'll wait to see here. There's only 5 minutes left. No, 2 minutes left.
2 minutes left.
No, I was looking at NCLH up exactly 5%. So
okay.
that's why I caught myself right there at the end. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. Some Canadian banks doing okay today. Goldman Sachs. All right. I was going to wonder where that close was going to be, north or south of 300. Looks like a nice little bump up here at the end of the day for Goldman. Staying above 300 will be pretty key psychological level, but look at these bounce off spots. Another look tomorrow, 298 there at the bottom. And J&J, that's what I wanted to talk about quickly. This is another reason why my long-term account, although getting destroyed because the market, I've been a buyer of J&J for forever. So, I mean, that's part of, the investing there. Wealthy Barber was the book that I was looking at or looking to talk to you about. It's a very, very old one, but I remember my father giving that to me when I was like 12 or 13 years old. It's really super old. And it was about investing in, companies that aren't going anywhere and companies that you can really just collect a dividend. So it's not my man Tony's on the bell there. It's not a book that he's been reading, but, J&J. Well, no, admitting himself.
No, I know.
He doesn't buy dividend stocks. So, but there it is, J&J, a good one. I'm looking at this 180 as a key level. That's why I wanted to bring that up. I think if J&J can get above 180 tomorrow, then you'll see some rocking and rolling on that stock. Not that far away, man. So I think that's something that can be done. And then my biggest, and not my biggest, but another position that I'm really happy to hold is IBM. I've been in this one forever as well. Not great returns on the equity, but a solid dividend play where you still get some of that tech exposure. Will be interesting to see what IBM does tomorrow. A couple interesting names. I don't sleep on them.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to sleep on them. Don't sleep on Tony when he rings the bell. Always a good time. Thank you, Tony, for filling in the midday show today. Fantastic job.
Sir.
In 3, 2, and 1. Ring it.
And that's a wrap. Thank you, Tony. One more time, it's always nice when we get to see Tony once, twice, 3 times on the show today. Rang the opening, rang the closing. But we need different people to ring it, man. We got to get some of these dudes behind us to ring the bell.
I had fun ringing the bell myself.
Because
I never got to do it. I'm always game. If I'm flat and I got no positions, I'll do it.
Yeah, I know, but some people could see other people.
I think the problem is I'd like to see Sharif do it. I think Sharif would break the bell down.
Yeah, Sharif's over here as well.
It needs to be in one piece.
Ready to rock and roll. Or hopefully Randy will never ring the bell again because my head is still ringing from that last time. But hey, you know what? Actually, Brendan, it looks like the close wasn't as bad here. We did make a little bit back, but obviously not as much as we would have liked. Let's go over to Brendan for a quick recap.
Yeah, a quick look here, guys, at how we end the day. Obviously, could have been a lot worse, but still, we go from up nicely to down slightly on all 3 of these. So S&P 0.75, 0.9, 0.8 there for the NASDAQ. Yeah, we'll see what happens overnight here, but still 17% on the 24-hour period for Ethereum today, where Bitcoin just 3, guys.
Yeah.
Well, duh. Obviously, everybody bought Ethereum at 1,000.
Logically.
Yeah, and 2,000 and 3,000 and every level. It's Miss Maggie. I was wondering. I was like, did she trip and fall and couldn't come here for the very close? But good to see Maggie come through. Here's a report just out right now on Netflix. It's not going to move it, but what a surprise! Netflix had charged $3 more for additional homes in Latin America. New password sharing plan in Latin America. So looks like they're going to roll something out there, bring it over here. I think that's a positive for Netflix because I really do think that people that are sharing the passwords, there's nothing wrong with that. It's allowed. Yeah. They're letting it happen. I hope that they go from 5 down to 3 or something because
make it cheap.
Make it cheap. And it looks like you have to add $3 per household. That's not bad. I think that rockets up. rockets up their revenues, and obviously will hurt some of their viewership. So the thing about it is, all the numbers that we care about, and Netflix is not out till tomorrow, but it's the subscriber numbers.
Yes.
So it's not like, that's only one subscriber when you share it 5 times. To me, that doesn't count as 5 subscribers, and I don't think they count that. It's paid subscribers, so I think they go by that one account. So I think this is good news. We'll see if Netflix can hold it, but what a good day today. I mean, very active. Yeah. It's kind of a day trader's dream today for
Lots
sure.
of opportunities to trade.
I mean, that Google trade was monstrous. I really hope we can do that again tomorrow. Netflix is going to be good.
It'd be nice if Google had a stronger day, but you can't complain about the trade action. That's the key.
Yeah, no, I mean, Google's will be fine. Maybe it does want to see that 100. We saw Amazon see, 102?
Yeah.
You know, so maybe
we
that's...
see 100 on Google. We're going to be on the bid. That's for damn sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm going to be on the bid tomorrow anyways, probably no matter what the price. But big thanks, Maggie, Lucas, Fahad. Big thanks to everybody today. It was a great one. Thanks to Brendan. Thanks to, what's up, Brad? Thanks to Prad. Thanks to Ian. Thanks to Trader Tony as well. Trader Tony. What am I doing?
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's fine. He's trading. He made some trades today, right? So thanks to Tony for that one as well. But hey, for all of us, I guess nothing's out yet, Brendan. I'm not really seeing anything moving too much. So let's just pass.
410, I think, for IBM.
410, okay, yeah, not, or 420 for Tesla, I bet, is when their earnings are going to come out, but not today. So, all right, let's move on. Trade of the day is going to be Apple. Check it out. We're back here tomorrow at 8:30, so join us then. For Brendan, for Neil, I'm Sean. We're your Trader TV Live team, and we're back tomorrow at 8:30. Rest well.